Life is hard enough when you're stuck in a 9 to 5, but it gets even worse when the boss you work for is nothing more than a barking dog who knows nothing beyond yelling at his employees. Meet Jin Song, who has suddenly started noticing these weird system windows that hint at an upcoming zombie apocalypse. But with the stress of his job, coupled with his boss's endless yapping, he doesn't even have the time to properly think about these otherworldly system notifications. The only thing keeping his sanity intact is the kindness his female colleague Seon Ah shows him. He often thinks about quitting, but with AI taking over remote jobs and unemployment shooting through the roof, he doesn't have many options to fall back on. That's when everything starts to change for the worse. Even in the dead of summer, snow begins to fall across the world, an unnatural phenomenon science can't explain. Things only get real when Jin Song finds a coworker feasting on another colleague's body. This is the moment Jin Song realizes he's royally screwed. The encounter with a literal zombie is traumatizing. His knees give out, dropping him to the floor. Suddenly his phone rings. A message has been broadcasted. People are mutating due to a virus called rabies, so everyone is advised to stay indoors. This is a lot to process. Jin Song is sure as hell that some funny-sounding virus like rabies couldn't possibly turn humans into actual zombies. There has to be something far more incomprehensible going on. He checks social media where everyone is talking about zombies ravaging neighborhoods and snow falling in the middle of summer. That's when it all clicks in his mind. Maybe those otherworldly system windows he's been seeing are connected to these catastrophic events. He tries searching for any information about the status windows, but nothing useful pops up. Things only get worse when his phone glitches into a static screen and then loses connection entirely. Hopelessness begins creeping in. His mind feels numb, his body freezing from the atmospheric temperatures dropping unnaturally. Right now, his biggest problem isn't even the flesh-eating zombies. It's the freezing atmosphere he has to survive. He's banking on the idea that rescuers may arrive soon. To increase his chances, he decides to preserve his phone battery, which currently sits at 83%. Cautiously, he explores the building, hoping to avoid zombies. His first priority is to grab something warm to wear and food to survive. Luckily, he finds a set of clothes in a drawer which he dons on right away. Next on the list is food. Before long, he manages to score a bag, some spare clothes, water, and food to replenish himself. He's not sure whose bag this was, but he's grateful someone left it behind. Now the next step is to find a proper weapon to defend himself. After looking around enough, he finds some trusty golf sticks conveniently waiting for him to find them. With the supplies he has, he could last about 3 days. So the daunting question is, will rescue come before he starves to death in this unforgiving cold? The streets are crawling with zombies and monsters, and with the raging blizzard, it won't be easy for helicopters to reach him. If rescuers don't make it within a week, the only thing waiting for him is doom. Worse yet, the temperature is dropping faster than ever. And then another system window appears before his eyes. Inside the system shop, he sees a list of items. Winter clothing is among them. He desperately wants to acquire it, but he doesn't have enough system currency. Suddenly, footsteps echo nearby. He quickly gets out of his cozy, quiet corner and stands ready to deal with whatever is approaching. With the golf stick in his hands, he runs to find the threat before threat finds him. Just before he slams the golf stick, it turns out that it's just his coworker, Kim Ju-man. The introduction goes smoothly since they already know each other. Jin Song even happens to be this guy's senior at work. They sit down, and Kim Ju-man explains how he ended up here. During break time, he was stuck in the canteen. Hearing grotesque sounds outside, he locked the door behind him. When he finally tried to escape, he bulldozed his way out, pushing through zombies and forcing his way to the emergency stairs. But this isn't the kind of information Jin Song was hoping for. Not only does this guy have no meaningful info, but he also wants to leech off our boy's precious hard-earned supplies. Of course, Jin Song refuses, lying that he doesn't have much. Later, when our boy grabs the water bottle to refill it, his junior grabs his hand, and his vibe goes from friendly to suspicious. He starts sweating despite the freezing cold. It's as if he's seen through Jin Song's lies and wants him to confess. Thankfully, nothing happens, at least not yet. But Jin Song can't shake off the unease. He is wondering why that guy was sweating so much. I don't know about you guys, but I could already tell the bastard was infected. And sure enough, that bastard tries to ambush Jin Song from behind after turning into a zombie. But my guy reacts fast, smashing his water bottle into the bastard's face, then kicking him hard enough that he crashes into the nearby wall. It's unbelievable that just moments ago, this guy was talking like a normal human. So how could he turn into a rabid monster so quickly? But with survival on the line, Jin Song doesn't hesitate. He swings his golf stick hard and smashes it right over the zombie's head. He keeps going, just like you would with a cockroach, making sure it's completely squashed and done for. This is Jin Song's first kill since the apocalypse started, and it leaves him sweating despite the freezing weather. But it was worth it though, because his system suddenly responds to his kill in order to reward him properly. Having obtained his first coin prompts Jin Song to chant "Open the status window." Inspecting the items in the store, he realizes that these coins can be used to purchase them. The neat part is that he'll practically earn 1 coin for killing 1 zombie. You might be thinking that it's pretty good, but our boy out here is dreading his life, thinking that he had to risk his balls off just to kill one zombie and earn one measly coin in return for it. Muddled in his thoughts, Jin Song's attention suddenly turns to the visible bite mark on the zombie's wrist. This visual cue confirms his thoughts, making him realize that the worst has truly happened. In the next scene, our boy is taking cover in a comfy blanket, realizing that even people who look fine can't be trusted anymore. In the midst of the hell he has to endure, he's just glad that a cigarette pack is comforting him. Yeah, I guess lung cancer doesn't really matter when zombies are out to get your ass. Jin Song is haunted by a feeling of uncertainty and thinks he should look for resources, when suddenly, a frightening roar startles him. Taking a peek at the window to check things outside, our boy spots a survivor trying to fight his way out of the horde. Unfortunately, the bloodthirsty zombies gangbang him in one scene and leave him in a state that is comparable to when my ex-girlfriend dumped me. Horrified, he moves back, realizing that he's in a real mess. A while passes, and Jin Song is practically trapped inside. It's already the third day, he's running out of options, and his battery is at a critical 3%. As if that wasn't enough, bro basically has 4 chocolate bars left to save his life. Thanks to his observations from the window, Jin Song has learned one thing. People have helplessly tried to escape the zombies, but they're hunted down every single time. Even with those kinds of odds, our boy understands that the only way he's going to survive without starving himself to death is if he starts moving around. Fastening his bag, Jin Song starts removing the barricades, understanding that he's only going to put himself in greater danger by staying here. Right now, his best shot of survival is to look for other survivors within the same building, hoping that the power of friendship and cooperation will save him. Jin Song sets the 6th floor as his main target, wondering if Juman really did block the entrance according to his words. Suddenly, our boy hears something and immediately goes to the window. Except when he looks outside, there's nothing but the merciless cold. It's dark out, but there's a sign of lights, implying that some other person must have used the generator to turn them on. This confirms one thing. There has to be another survivor in the building. Knowing that the lights are about to go out at any moment, Jin Song rushes downstairs, knowing that his only chance of survival is to find the other person in time. As he's descending, Jin Song theorizes the location of the survivor. His best guess is that this person must be hiding in the management office or the security room. The best thing? They're both located on the same 1st floor, so it's going to be easy to transition. On the lower floors, there's even more cold. However, choosing precaution over his own comfort, our boy takes off his shoes to avoid making any noise. Arriving at the 6th floor, he decides to take the brave step of confirming Juman's words. Taking a peek inside, our boy notes that the entrance is in fact blocked, meaning the guy wasn't bullshitting around. Happiness shines on his face, because this means there might be more survivors in the building if it hasn't been invaded from the outside. But for now, Jin Song decides to leave the 6th floor and focuses on his mission to go down to the 1st floor. Arriving here, he has come to confirm a bunch of facts. First up, the zombies haven't really invaded the building's upper floors, but for the 1st floor, he knows that there's a great risk of those ugly freak shows lurking around. Clasping onto the door handle, our boy slowly opens to take a peek, begging and praying for there to be none. Unfortunately, reality is much darker. There's blood splattered everywhere, and just as expected, there are zombies tumbling around like the brainless savages they are. With an entire horde in sight, the situation is critically dangerous for our boy. This means he genuinely can't make his way outside, not with a horde this huge. The good thing is that the zombies haven't taken notice of the upper floors and are stuck on the 1st floor. However, with the way things are going, Jin Song fears that the door blocking them out won't hold up for long. Using this as his one opportunity to get the fuck out, he quietly slips towards the direction of the management office. Having arrived at the office only a moment later, Jin Song is unfortunately met with an unpleasant, tragic sight. In front of him is a corpse of a man, a really nice guy who always greeted him every morning, but because of the inhuman cold, he died from hypothermia. Deciding to let the guy rest, Jin Song shuts his eyes and offers a small prayer for his fallen companion. F's in the comments for his homeboy. Anyway, Jin Song continues his efforts to reach the security room, hoping that he'll find a survivor lurking here. However, he has to be cautious of potential traps set by the survivor, similar to what he did with the barricades. That's why our boy's first objective is to prove his innocence that he's not a mindless zombie. Turning his attention back to the freak shows lurking around, Jin Song observes that though these zombies are blind as hell, they're also pretty sharp on picking up sound. So, he calmly taps on the door, indicating that he's a human to the other person. Next up is the brave leap of faith as Jin Song slowly reaches for the door handle. But the moment he opens the door, something latches to attack him. It's not a zombie but a dude with a stick. Luckily, our boy manages to defend himself with the all-powerful Eater of Worlds, the Infinity Golf Stick of Destruction. But the sound made for their clash worries Jin Song because it's at risk of attracting the zombies. Meanwhile, the glasses guy over here is startled by what he sees. Luckily, the zombies still haven't caught on, causing the survivor to yank our boy into the room so he can quickly close it shut. It's the ultimate showdown. a golf stick user versus a wooden stick practitioner. Both confirm each other's status as a human, but still refuse to lower their weapons. Jin Sung explains his situation, pointing out how he heard the emergency generator and came to search for survivors. Next, he even shows his badge as the assistant manager of one of the sales teams. Though he's found himself a survivor, he's worried for this guy to also turn out like Juman in the end. The glasses guy is actually also another assistant manager of the development team, Choi Jae-sung. The fact that this guy is covering his body tightly puts Jin Sung on edge, because he's worried that Jae-sung might be using it to cover any bite marks. However, in this guy's case, he doesn't appear to be sweating, and only seems to be covering himself for the cold. Observing his surroundings, our boy takes notice of the guy's backpack, and then shifts his attention to the wooden stick. A contemplative and skeptical Jin Sung suddenly reaches clarity. You see, infected people are abnormally hungry, and the fact that this guy is rationing his supplies indicates that he's completely normal. Jin Sung offers his hand, putting the other guy on edge as he points his weapon at him. Our boy realizes that maybe Jae-sung is actually suspicious of him trying to loot his bag, when in reality, he didn't really want that to happen. Looking for a way to resolve the situation, Jin Sung quietly puts his golf stick back and embraces a show of surrender. This way, he proves his innocence. Thinking of alternatives, he even decides to offer the other manager a cigarette to smoke. Reaching for his pocket, he takes out his pack and offers one to the guy, once again showing an interest in the lying. Glasses guy is cautious at first, but eventually lowers his weapon. After giving it a thought, he agrees and politely asks if it's okay to smoke one. In the next scene, both of them are cozying up to each other. Despite the horde of zombies waiting to tear their flesh outside, at least they've got cigarettes over here to enjoy. Jin Sung even jokingly remarks that he's had nothing other than a chocolate bar and a cigarette the entire day. This causes the other guy to actually rummage his bag, which confirms to Jin Sung that he must have looted some items from the lounge area. The guy takes out some noodle cake and breaks it in two, advising his new friend to eat slowly and chew it properly. Our boy happily accepts and starts munching down on it. He sparks conversation, curiously inquiring how the development team's manager was able to get his hands on food. Jae-sung apparently looted what he could without taking the whole fridge, something that made both of them laugh. A short while after, they're both quivering in the cold while the development manager explains the situation on the second floor. Things are looking miserable there. Recalling what happened, he remembers feeling trapped with his colleague, forcing them to split the food. His friend insisted that they get the move on, while he preferred waiting for someone to save them. In the end, Jae-sung's friend got gobbled up by the zombies because of his impatience, leaving the guy to fend for himself. From this explanation, our boy realizes that there are more than just a few zombies on the second floor. Luckily, there are only 4 according to what this guy saw. In the end, he had to leave 2 out of fear of losing power. So he scavenged his way, weaseling out as slow as he could while creating a few distractions for the zombies. Jin Sung is actually pretty impressed to hear that this guy managed to escape 4 zombies unharmed. Secondly, he learns that it was in fact Jae-sung who turned on the emergency generator. The guys also secured an extension cable for charging important electronics. But at this point, our boy is starting to question if any of their electronics even matter anymore. Jae-sung is actually pretty shocked to hear him admit that he hasn't been using the internet. Our boy expresses that he couldn't find a signal, but the development team's manager reveals that satellite internet works perfectly fine. Hilariously, the manhwa even references Elon Musk's latest Starlink project, which is the very reason the internet isn't an issue in this apocalypse. Jae-sung reveals that though not all servers are working, the internet still works enough for them to make use of it. All of this information is hitting our boy like a truck. He didn't even know this was possible. Being the chill guy Jae-sung is, he offers to let Jin Sung's phone charge now that his own is finished. A short while later, Jin Sung connects to the satellite network, confirming that stuff is working perfectly fine. He thanks his friend a ton for teaching him so much, but being the humble king Jae-sung is, he doesn't take any credit for it. Their hopeful moment is thrashed when they spot the lights going out. This confirms that the emergency generator is also done for good. Jin Sung asks what this guy wants to do next, to which he replies that he's going to keep on staying here. Reading between the lines, our boy realizes that Jae-sung is basically telling him to leave. The thing is, this guy is just trying to preserve his own life in a safe environment. Having another person wasting his resources is only going to impose a burden on him. At the same time, even Jin Sung thinks that their partnership wouldn't be beneficial because of their different mindsets. One of them wants to get going, while the other intends to stay in a safe environment. Naturally, our boy makes the first move, ensuring that there isn't any conflict between them and decides to leave. Before he heads out, his friend decides to offer him one last gift for the journey. He hands him a flashlight and a spare battery because he's got plenty of his own to work around with. This is an amazing development for Jin Sung, who stocks them in his bag, thinking that it's going to help him in the long run. In return, our boy happily offers him a couple of cigarettes to enjoy. Both of them part ways on good terms, bidding each other good luck and hoping to meet again soon. With that, Jin Sung heads outside, back to where the ugly freak shows are hovering around. He has to act before the power goes out for good. Taking note of the open door, our boy sneaks his way past the zombies and quietly pulls the door shut. He's out of danger now and considers his options. First off, he could potentially navigate down the basement, knowing that his car is accessible there. That's one way to escape the danger after all. However, what concerns him is if it's really the right time to leave this building in the first place. Of course, it's true that he has to leave the building at some point, but leaving too soon might be equally as dangerous to him. That's why Jin-sung chooses to go upstairs with his next goal of gathering information from the company before eventually plotting his escape. Unfortunately, it's here where the power completely goes pitch black, forcing him to be even more cautious. Maintaining his composure, he rummages to find his flashlight. Jin-sung cracks it open, methodically making his way upstairs, knowing that the zombies could have switched positions in his absence. With careful steps, our boy makes it all the way to the 6th floor. It's here that he suspects the presence of a zombie. Despite the danger involved, he's come far enough that he can't turn back now. Steadying his resolve, he prepares the mighty golf club and reaches ahead. One particular zombie is making its way through the stairs in all of its chopped glory. Our boy is mogging and keeping his composure, until suddenly he sees the queen of chopped uglies and fidgets in fear. Bro literally ducks while this zombie turns into Supergirl and tries to jump his ass. Coming over with a bashful golf swing, this man smashes her head, leaving her smacked like a dead mosquito on the wall. But that's not enough to kill her, because it tries to spam attack the same move again, only for our boy to whack her face with his golf of destruction. This time the swing has knocked her downstairs, leaving a pool of blood. At this point, this man is practically begging her not to get up again. But for some reason, this persistent zombie still has the ability to squirm around. Jin-sung's golf stick is hella bent from smacking the bitch around, and with a final prayer, he makes the killing blow, hoping to end the zombie for good. Thankfully, it's all over. The system rewards him with another coin, allowing him to purchase an item from the store. Jin-sung, on the other hand, is panting in exhaustion, while his beloved golf stick has suffered irreversible damage. The slayer of zombie bitches can rest well, knowing it won our hearts. Back to our boy, he's pissed off and still decides to keep the weapon away for some other use later. His main focus now is to inspect the zombie, wondering where the hell it even came from. In the next scene, the guy checks the rooftop door, which appears to be locked shut. This implies that the zombie came from some other floor, hinting that not even the 7th floor is safe from harm. Quietly making his way, our boy breathes a sigh of relief. Seems like the 7th floor is fine. Taking a break, he chugs down some water, recalling just how ruthlessly fast the zombie was, arguably even faster than from the time it was a human. It was as if it had become a wild animal. Outside, he notices that there are 2 zombies hovering around. This is bad news, because if they're just as fast as the one he fought, it would mean that he's not going to survive 2 at a time. That's why Jin-sung's excellent strategy is to isolate his opponents, taking on 1 at a time. Suddenly, he decides to take a peek at his phone, wondering if there's some new information on the zombies. Bro is out here really wondering if there's some kind of new zombie patch or some shit. There's a forum called the Survivors Gallery, where a bunch of people are posting from different regions talking about the insufferable cold conditions. They miserably talk about their own pitiful situation, instead of highlighting some new discovery on the zombies. Disappointed, Jin-sung turns to his own findings. One thing is for certain, these zombies primarily use sound for detection and have terrible senses otherwise. They can't be killed until their heads are brutally destroyed, and the obvious fact is simple that one will turn into a zombie if they're bitten. But these facts are just something everyone already knows. With no new update on the forum, Jin-sung highly suspects that the government has collapsed, meaning no one's coming for their rescue. It's a grim reality, leaving the survivors to persist on their own, in a world that has gone to hell. The scene cuts to the 5th day of the attempt to survive. The cold has gotten unbearably bad, even for our boy. He's at risk of getting sick, and in an environment like this, that practically guarantees death. Knowing that staying rigid is not helping, our boy decides to warm up with some jumping jacks. But after exercise, naturally his stomach is also grumbling. Though he'd normally only eat half a piece of chocolate, with the way things are going, he needs to eat more to survive. Munching on his bar, he decides to take off his shoes again in an effort to prioritize a lighter travel. His shoes definitely aren't helping him with the noise anyway, so they're pointless to carry. Right now, Jin-sung absolutely needs to secure some food if he wants to survive. Using manager Choi Jae-sung's information, he recalls that some of the food should still be here in the lounge. Our boy suspects that it's in the same bag of the colleague who died trying to escape, which isn't really a good thing either considering what happened to him. First off, he's going to have to solo 4 zombies, which is a cause for concern. It's not like he can steal the bag and escape undetected either. The logical and perhaps the only answer in this situation is to beat them one by one and secure the bag. So Jin-sung starts trailing his targets, locating 1 zombie in room 1, another in room 2, a third in the business team room, But the fishy part is locating the final zombie, as it's nowhere to be found. Knowing that there weren't any corpses on the way to the exit, Jinsong understands that the final zombie must be lurking somewhere at least. But with these many fuckers ready to chew him down, he needs proper weapons to handle them accordingly. Checking one of the rooms, Jinsong learns that it's clear and decides to sneak his way in. The good thing about this room is that a quick scan shows him that a bunch of supplies are still available, even if there isn't any food. Outside, he already hears one of the zombies dragging about. Our boy clasps the flashlight between his teeth, grabs a cup to make the ideal distraction, and tosses it in the distance. Jinsong declares the start of his hunt, and the moment the cup hits the floor, the zombie lunges with incredible speed to chase the source of the sound. But it completely forgot that our boy was waiting for this golden home run. The zombie glances to its left, basically making the expression, "Oh shit, I'm cooked." Jinsong hammers the golf stick into its damn face, killing it instantly. The sound attracts the other zombies, but our boy quickly closes the door shut before they can barge their way inside. With this, he successfully cleared his first target. Jinsong's really happy, maybe a bit too happy, because he quickly forgets about the zombie sharing a room with him. The infected grabs his foot, indicating that it's still not dead. The sudden sensation makes our hero turn around in fear, only to see a crawling zombie clutching his leg and growling like some rabid dog. Hungry for a nibble, the creature lunges forward with its mouth wide open, while Song just stands there frozen in pure shock. The flashlight slips from his mouth and falls to the floor as instinct kicks in, and he slams his foot down on the zombie's head, pinning it firmly in place while it keeps drooling all over the floor. It stretches its arms out to grab him again, but he jumps back, now clearly irritated at the situation. Without a second thought, our hero swings his golf club down hard and cracks the zombie's skull, sending it straight off to the next life. When it is finally over, he just stands there beside the pool of blood, clutching his head as he tries to wrap his mind around what just happened. But before he can catch his breath, a hand suddenly slaps against the window right next to him, snapping him back to reality. He spins around in shock and sees a whole bunch of zombies trying to push their way inside, and in that moment, it suddenly hits him that there are still more of these freaks left. With no regard for personal hygiene, he puts the dirty flashlight back in his mouth and is determined to end this before more show up. Reaching the next room, he smashes his golf club through the window, which catches the two zombies inside completely off guard. Our hero then hurls a small metal object across the room, and both zombies instantly turn their heads. One of them rushes after it right away while the other remains standing, confused by what is happening. Song flashes his torch directly at the one still frozen in place, and the rest is history. Meanwhile, the backpack zombie dashes wildly around the room, even leaping over the desk to chase after the object, which turns out to be nothing more than a spoon. He turns around in confusion and runs at full speed, but our hero drop kicks him square in the back, sending him crashing to the floor. Wasting no time, he lifts his golf club high and smashes it down, sending the poor creature straight to hell. The final strike shatters his weapon completely while the system notifies him that he earned 4 more coins. A little downhearted at losing his weapon, he crouches beside the zombie to scavenge supplies. Song unstraps the backpack and slings it over his shoulders, feeling satisfied that it carries some actual weight. The relief is short-lived though, since he quickly realizes he is nothing but a damsel in distress without a weapon, and so he turns to leave the area in a hurry. Right as he is about to walk away, he stops himself. After going through all that effort to get here, it would be smarter to check the place properly. He recalls Jae-sung mentioning that the assistant manager had hidden in the break room and probably never had time to search the rest of the office. Going through each desk one by one, our hero's mood lifts when he uncovers a stash of supplements along with a power bank. Riding that small streak of luck, he pushes further and decides to check out the Development Team 2's office as well. But just then, a heavy thud echoes behind him. For a moment, he wonders if it is another zombie, but remembering he no longer has a weapon, he makes the quick decision to book it and live to fight another day. Our hero slips into a nearby room and hides behind a desk, hugging his backpack close. As he finally starts to calm down, he mutters to himself that it feels strangely comforting to be safe in a place as nerve-wracking as an office. Reality starts to settle in again, so he decides to go through the backpack and see what loot he got. After emptying the contents, he makes a list consisting of 3 bags of snacks, some ramen, cookies, and a can of Coke no gamer can live without. Our hero starts laughing like a lunatic and closes his eyes in peace as he thinks that with these supplies, he can surely last 30 days as long as he has clean water. Then his body starts to shiver, and the cold hits him again as the adrenaline finally clears out of his body, while his blood-soaked socks make him even colder. Our protagonist decides to wash up a bit, leaving his socks out to dry while he cleans the blood off his feet. He is annoyed at how cold the water is, as if he isn't in some world-ending disaster right now. However, he freezes the moment he notices some marks on his leg, his face turning pale from shock. He recalls the zombie at the start grabbing his leg earlier and feels relieved he won't be turning into one since they are not bite marks. Still unsure, he goes through the feed and comes across a post saying a person was fined days after getting scratched. He instantly cheers up and leans against the basin with a sigh of relief. Though his problems are far from over, because now that he washed his feet, the cold will give him frostbite if he doesn't warm them up. Our boy then opens up the shop menu as he recalls there were some winter clothes options available the last time. Looking at the expensive accessories, he feels irritated because it makes no sense to sell every item separately for 3 coins, or why gloves and shoes cost the same as an entire clothes set. Desperate for a little warmth, he decides to buy the boots first, which materialize right in front of him, as if this really is a game. He picks them up in surprise and slips them on to check the size, only to find they fit perfectly, almost like they were custom made just for him. He quickly realizes boots alone are not enough to battle the cold, so he scrolls through the shop in search of more. After a round of doom scrolling through the endless items, he suddenly gets an alert and immediately thinks this might just be the one he needs. He buys a heat pack for 1 coin and he puts that on his feet to help them warm up again. Although he complains that 1 heat pack for 1 coin feels way too expensive, he still feels relief in the warmth and comforts himself with the thought that he will somehow survive the situation. By the 7th day, our hero learns that the water supply of the building has finally been cut off, so he quickly inspects his stash of water bottles that he had set aside for emergencies, and finds out that he has 2 liters left, which will probably last him 3 or 4 more days. He flops himself onto the countertop near the window and wonders why things always manage to get worse exactly when he finds the slightest glimmer of hope. Our hero then scrolls on his phone to check for any new info about the zombies, and finds a post by a user who claims that he is going to risk it by heading to the supermarket. An anonymous user asks if he is really going out, and he confidently replies that he already left and will post again if he makes it back alive, so the anonymous user cheers him on in support. After that, our hero sets his phone aside and feels sad that the number of posts is dropping day after day, which means that there are hardly any survivors left. He walks up to the window to confirm his suspicions and does not spot many humans outside, but he still holds on to the hope that people must be hiding somewhere. By the 8th day, he checks his phone only to see that an anonymous user had asked whether the adventurer ever returned from the supermarket, but even after a whole day, no response appeared under his post. The anonymous user assumes the adventurer died and quietly pays his respects. That makes Song angry, though he remains grateful that he still has enough food and water left to save if he can just make it out of the building alive. The only problem is that he cannot possibly last in the outside world all on his own, so he knows he must find other survivors in order to make allies. At that point, he discovers a fresh problem, since he cannot scavenge through different floors of the building while fighting zombies without a proper weapon, and he is now down to his last golf club, which is so flimsy that it will not last after knocking out more than a couple of zombies. So he opens the status screen and helplessly stares at the zombie skull-crushing hammer which costs 5 coins. But since he has only 2, he closes the screen and thinks that while it looks amazing, the hammer is too expensive, and he could just buy more winter clothes and heat packs for that price instead. Next, our boy focuses his attention on searching the 4th floor for useful items, but he suddenly notices something that makes him freeze in confusion. The entire scene is covered in blood, and there is not a single person in sight. Our boy notes that the bloodstains reek of zombie stench, which feels strange since he does not see any zombie corpses lying around. He can only wonder what might have happened there. When he tries the executive room door, he finds that it is locked. Song assumes someone could be hiding inside, so he presses his ear against the door and waits. After hearing nothing at all, he smashes the handle with his golf club and follows it with a solid heel kick that bursts the door wide open. Instead of survivors, he finds a mountain of corpses with at least 10 zombies stacked together. Seeing that, he questions what kind of beast could have done something like this, and whether his company ever had someone with this kind of monstrous strength. He understands the situation and sets a new goal of making that person his ally. After searching through the offices for some time and finding nothing useful, he realizes that the entire place has already been stripped clean. It dawns on him that the person must have taken everything beforehand. The level of thoroughness makes him wonder that an obsessive person could pull this off, and he even considers the possibility of there being more than one people. He cannot help but question if they are still somewhere inside the building. Just then, he notices a note jammed inside the water dispenser. Inside, the writer congratulates him on reaching the 4th floor and then apologizes for taking all the supplies, while advising him not to waste time looking around. The writer goes on to warn him about the executive director's room, explaining that all the corpses had been piled inside it and that a set of skirts has been left in one of the cabinets for anyone who might need them. Lastly, it gives a strong warning that the 5th floor should be avoided at all costs. The writer explains his plan to leave for an island on the west coast, where life might be a little easier. He even notes down the date and time, making our hero realize that if he had arrived a single day earlier, he might have met the legend himself. The writer turns out to be Yoon Hyuk-jae from the accounting team, and the man hopes to meet his dear reader someday. Reading that, Song instantly remembers the coworker, the same one he used to tease by calling him a special services agent. Everything makes perfect sense now, because it explains how Yoon was able to handle so many zombies on his own. Just as Song folds the paper, he notices another message written on the back. It states that Yoon left a gift in the drawer for his wife. Song's heart jumps at the thought of a hidden treasure, and he rushes toward the drawer, only to discover 2 lonely packets of instant coffee. At that moment, he realizes that Yoon pranked him hard. On the 10th day, Song sits by the window and enjoys a choco pie while reading the note again. He thinks to himself about the strange warning Yoon had left about the 5th floor. According to Song, that floor should not have many zombies at all, since it was where the CEO's office had been. Still, he does not question it too deeply, and convinces himself that Yoon must have had a good reason. His thoughts then drift toward the empty world outside, and he notices that he has not seen any survivors for quite some time. With every passing day, the possibility of meeting an ally grows smaller. He contemplates whether he should search through other floors, since he found no one the day before. While he stands there thinking over his options, a beam of light suddenly strikes his face, and Song quickly realizes that it's a signal from someone outside the building. He notices the other guy pointing at something and feels genuinely happy at the chance of there being other survivors. This immediately catches Song's interest, so he looks a little closer and spots the man holding up a sheet of paper, as he realizes he must be trying to communicate something to him. An idea sparks in his head and he digs through his pockets, pulling out the camera on his trusty Samsung phone and using the zoom feature. His quick thinking pays off as he manages to read the message, which tells him that there are still people alive in his building and they want him to team up. Our hero is overjoyed at the thought of other survivors, but for now he decides to focus on the people on the 6th floor. Picking up his remaining golf club, he makes up his mind to explore the area. Sometime later, he reaches the 6th floor and is caught off guard when he sees that the entrance is not blocked. Wondering if the other people cleared the mess out of the way for him, he calls out to any possible survivors and introduces himself in a friendly tone, but no one responds. As he walks deeper inside, he realizes the entire room is a mess, almost as if someone was desperately searching for something. The place gives him a very bad vibe and makes him wonder if others had been here before him. Just then, a zombie tries to sneak up on him. Luckily, Song detects the danger at the last second and quickly jumps back while readying his weapon. The zombie still manages to push him down to the floor, trying to pin him down, while its filthy drool drips all over his face. Desperate to stay alive, our protagonist kicks it straight in the gut, pushing the zombie back just enough for him to get back on his feet. Song doesn't waste the chance as he rushes forward and delivers a powerful strike that sends the zombie crashing to the ground. The fight doesn't end there, and our hero immediately picks up a cabinet with all his strength and slams it down on the zombie's head, effectively sending it off to join its brothers in the next life. The system informs our hero of his 1-coin reward, and he remarks that it now feels more like a death bell than anything else. He looks around the area, convinced there should have been survivors here, and begins to wonder if the man across the building lied to him. Just then, he hears a click nearby which makes him spin around, and he realizes that it might not have been a lie after all. He calls out to the person inside, assuring them that he is not here to hurt anyone, but there is still no reply. He keeps trying and explains that he came here looking for partners, while the person inside grips the door handle tightly as if refusing to let go. Our hero continues with small talk, mentioning that he is part of the sales department in the building. With no response, he eventually readies his club to smash the door open, but before he can, a voice from inside suddenly calls out and asks if he is Manager Song. At that moment, the door opens, catching him completely by surprise, and the employee turns out to be Sion, who looks incredibly relieved to finally see a familiar face. Sometime later, they sit inside and begin talking about everything that has happened. Seon explains that last night someone had come knocking on her door and begged her to let him in, but she sensed something was off and refused. Once he realized she was alone, he tried to force his way inside, which made her retreat to the break room to hide. Within less than an hour, the man outside had turned into a zombie buffet and ended up converted into one himself. It then clicks for our hero that the zombie he just took down was probably that very man. Changing the subject, he asks her if she has any weapons, and she shows him a wooden spear. It strikes him as looking very similar to Jae-sung's weapon, so he asks if it was made from a mop. She confirms it and explains that she used a box cutter to sharpen it, turning it into a surprisingly useful tool. Our hero notices the dried blood on the tip and wonders if she has already managed to kill a zombie, but then quickly realizes how risky that would be and how much harder it is for someone like her to handle that kind of danger. Sion keeps talking about the details of her spear while our hero just studies her with a serious look, already convinced that women are practically handicapped in this kind of world. He knows zombies are one thing, but the real danger also comes from people as well not being aware of their surroundings. With nothing else left to do, our hero decides to leave, which makes the girl panic and grab his hand tightly. She hesitates while asking if he's really going, but he apologizes and says he has to. Her panic only grows and she tells him desperately that she doesn't think she can survive alone. He pulls his hand free and apologizes once more, but she clenches her fist and randomly says that she used to fence back in the day. That makes him very confused, but she insists it's true and lifts the spear with dried blood still on it, and she confidently declares that she's the one who took down the zombies on the 6th floor. She then faces him straight on and claims he'll regret leaving her behind. The words leave him too stunned to reply, and she quickly starts bragging that she once won a silver medal at the national festival. That instantly flips a switch in him, and he shakes her hand, agreeing to team up. Not wasting time, he hands her the backpack stuffed with all the supplies he collected earlier. Together, they search through the entire room, and he tells her to start grabbing backup batteries. She looks confused and asks if the connections have already been restored. He calmly explains about Starlink, and that little detail makes her light up with excitement like a kid who just got candy. Our boy asks her how many zombies she actually handled, and she answers proudly that there were 8, not counting the one he finished off. Right after, she happily yells that she found the batteries, while he just stands there in shock that she managed to take down 8 zombies all by herself. Once they finish packing their things, she asks if they should head out now, but he tells her to hold on for a moment. His eyes narrow as he notices strange marks on the door, and he asks her what those are. Seon explains that the guy from earlier kept trying to break it down, though she isn't sure what tool he was using. Looking around more carefully, our hero spots a shiny object hidden under some papers. He picks it up in excitement, while the nerd girl casually remarks that it's a measuring caliper. He feels overjoyed to finally come across a sturdy metal tool that won't snap apart like those golf clubs, and quickly tests its weight in his hands. He mutters that it feels a little short to use as a proper weapon, but his coworker simply smiles and tells him that she already has a solid solution for that. Seon grabbed the caliper and did some arts and crafts bullshit to make use of its strength and extend its range. As securely as she could, she tied the heavy metal tool to the end of her trusty murder stick. The sharp edge is on one side, and the heavy caliper is on the other. It's a pretty useful double-sided weapon. You can strike like a spear and clobber like a caliper. The perfect invention. Seon was very pleased with her creativity. She's already showing that bringing her along is the best decision Song Jin-song will make. Maybe having more people doesn't mean more people to fight with. Being on a team could make great things possible. Afterwards, they did an inventory check on both of their supplies. They have a pretty even split of food, so they won't have to worry about that for a while. Among Seon stuff, there was a frying pan. She personally brought this thing to the office on the day of the apocalypse. She was supposed to get it refunded at the store she bought it from because of the color. With this thing, they could melt some snow for water. She embarrassedly averted her gaze. She's been using that pan for a different purpose. The handle is a little slippery. What could that mean? Changing the subject, she asked how Jin-song knew she was here. It felt like he already knew there was someone in the break room before Seon made her presence known. He confessed that he got the intel from the building across the street. Whoever they are, they used a light to get his attention and wrote a note about joining forces. He showed Seon the picture of the note, and she recoiled. Unlike Jin-song, she was quite skeptical of the message. Thinking about it now, rashly joining up with strangers is bound to come with a lot of risk and unpredictable factors. The reason Seon even pushed to form a team with him was that they already knew each other before everything went to shit. It's hard to find someone trustworthy in the apocalypse, even more so for a woman. She cannot possibly team up with just anyone. It is understandable. Understanding her reservations, Song Jin-song willingly forgoes the idea of joining the people from the other building. Seon was just glad that someone listened to her opinion. On another note, she shared that the deplorable manager Choi might still be alive. That pig boss is sturdy for real. She reckoned that he might be holing up on another floor. He was isolated with her on the 6th floor on the first day, but he managed to move. Seon locked herself in the break room, and the pig was in the bathroom. He demanded help, but she froze in fear and ignored his pleas. It took her a long time to open the door and find that the manager had escaped somehow. He probably left on the night of the 2nd day. Since then, Seon carefully surveyed the 4th, 2nd, and 1st floors. She looted a decent bit. Assuming that he survived and hasn't moved, the manager might be lurking on the 3rd or 5th floor. As the night deepened, Seon retreated to her corner, endured the cold, and dozed off. Song Jin-song feared that the neighboring survivors might reach Manager Choi and team up with the fat fuck. They could grow their group and become a threat to him and Seon. Feeling himself spiraling to a hypothetical worst-case scenario, Jin-song shook his head and tossed away the uncontrollable external factors for now. To make himself feel better, he looked at his slowly rising coin count. Right now he can afford another piece of comfy winter gear. A winter hat would hit right about now. But before he could impulsively click on the buy button, images of Seon bruised feet flashed in his mind. The apocalypse is on, and bro is thinking about feet. She's at risk of getting frostbite. If she succumbs to that pain, she won't be able to move, just another dead weight. In many ways, giving her some comfortable boots is a logical choice. So, while his girl was sleeping, he was shopping to give her some boots. At the last moment, he balked and closed the shop window. He cursed himself for being a selfish asshole for not spending a mere 3 coins for a comrade and only thinking about his own comfort. Pushing that guilt deep into his mind, he justified that they don't have to move right away, so he can delay the decision for a little while. When morning came, he woke up to Seon-ah eagerly browsing on her phone. He asked if she had plenty of battery left, and she was caught off guard. Overnight, they charged the battery they found yesterday and set aside one for emergency. Looking at her phone's dwindling power, she brought up the fact that the company installed a solar power generator on the roof. He did not know that they had something like that, so he never bothered to check the highest floor. Seon-ah was briefly in charge of a support project linked with a small to medium enterprise. She was informed that the whole setup was installed, but a defect was found before it was officially sold, so the project was halted. She doesn't know the exact details of the so-called defect, but she's certain that it wasn't a big safety issue. Even though the solar power setup was just a trial version, it should still be useful. She was briefly in charge of the project, so she knows how to run it. With the prospect of a great resource available, Jin-sung enthusiastically agreed to check it out. The trek up the stairs went smoothly until they reached the rooftop door. They had to pool their strengths together to push the door blocked by a hefty chunk of snow. Of course, the rooftop would be a white, snow-filled hellhole right now. They turned around and looked at the highest point of their office building. Up there, the key to unlimited energy lies. Jin-sung looked around the place and finally found the attached ladder. He tried to pull it down, but the thing was stuck and frozen. The first rung of the ladder was quite high up. It would be hard to get on it. Bravely volunteering to be the one to go up first, Seon-ah asked for a boost. Thankfully, the whole platform wasn't too high, so all it took was a decent boosted jump to scale. Maybe it's because she used to be a decorated athlete, but her movements are so light and measured. Seon-ah felt around the platform, wiping the piles of snow away as best as she could, until finally, the solar panels revealed themselves under the pillowy surface. She excitedly relayed the news to her new partner. The panels aren't that big, so she can take them apart and lower them down. After a few minutes of tinkering, she secured the first piece and carefully worked with Jin-sung to retrieve it. They repeated the smooth process 3 more times. At the end of the day, they left the rooftop with 4 solar panels that could be a crucial resource. It was a tough and exhausting mission, but they pulled through with teamwork. Like Seon-ah claimed, the installation was as easy as pie. She finished it in just a few minutes. These panels are more effective outside, but they can't exactly leave it back up to a snowy field. With all the dark clouds perpetually blocking the sunlight, it won't be very efficient. From what she remembers, a bright sunny day could charge a phone to about 50%. The sun is barely out now, so they might as well test the current benchmark of their new panels. They left a phone plugged in for an entire day, and it only gave them 8% of juice. To charge the phone to full would take more than 12 days. That is not a good yield at all. Seon-ah's enthusiasm from the day before had completely evaporated. After all that effort and manual labor, they were rewarded with 8% of the battery. Jin-sung could not help but look at her shivering and bruised feet. He's just like me, for real. They already expected a bad yield, but being proven right is still disheartening. Looking on the brighter side, Jin-sung figured something out. He might have just come up with the best place to go if they ever decide to leave the company building. They won't have to go far. They can check out the company's logistics warehouse nearby. That place might have food and essential tools for survival. The problem is getting there. They could probably secure a car, but navigating the icy roads without a GPS might be a big problem. They could rely on phones to maybe draw a map on paper. Seon-ah assured him that they could go to the warehouse without a map. It's near her house after all. She often passes by that place when taking walks. Every passing day together, this woman keeps on proving that teaming up with her was the wisest decision. With an end-of-the-world partner and a goal, Seon-ah feels energized. This girl is not skilled and always game to take on tough tasks. She is pulling her own weight even with compromised feet. She never even coveted his winter boots. With that in mind, he made up his mind. It was a very odd question, but he asked for the size of her feet. He lied and came up with a story about how he saw a pair of boots somewhere earlier. Hearing this, her face lit up, and she willingly answered even though the reasoning had some glaring holes. She even volunteered to come with him and retrieve said boots. Jin-sung quickly ran to the door and asked her to stay put. He can't let her see his freaky ability just yet. After a few minutes, he came back with a pair of stylish winter boots that fit Seon-ah perfectly. Upon giving her the invaluable gift, the system prompted that a party was successfully formed. This is a new development. The system explained that coins acquired by a party member will be automatically added to Jin-sung's bank. That means forming a bigger team would bring more benefits. Gifting other survivors shop items might be the trigger. While he was lost in thought, Seon-ah wholeheartedly thanked him for the comfy boots. He was so focused on theorizing what other functions the system might have that he didn't even hear her. Seeing her hand phase through the system prompt snapped him out of his daze. Jin-sung excused himself as being just a bit dizzy due to hunger, and this sweet woman offered him something to eat from her stockpile. Pushing the mysteries of the system to the back of his mind, they went back to their spot to get some grub. Just like that, 14 days have passed since the outbreak, and the perpetual blizzard started. Their water supply ran out 3 days ago. The thirst is setting in. Today is the day to test out the pan and melt some snow. Seon-ah took charge of getting some papers to burn. Since there's a risk of spreading fire inside the building, they decided to light up on the rooftop. This practice also comes with a set of risks. If they light a fire outside, the smoke might attract some raiders hiding nearby. Those people usually move in groups. With the state of the world in chaos, raiders are bound to band together to commit all sorts of inhumane crimes. They will steal, murder, assault, and commit sexual violence to their rotten heart's content. Jin-sung wanted to hold out on making a fire to avoid drawing attention from the wrong people, but they don't have a choice anymore. Using a lighter, they lit up some office documents and piled them up on a metal drawer box. They haven't felt this warm in a long time. For a minute, Seon-ah and Song Jin-song shared the comfortable warmth of the pyre. They put some snow on her treasured pan and managed to melt a decent amount of water. Desperate to get some fluids in their body, the two shared a cup of warm water. It's been so long since they had a drop of drinkable water, let alone something warm. Seon-ah was moved to tears. She was starting to forget that such warmth existed in this cruel world. They shared a cozy evening, glad that they didn't give up and found each other. Little things like this can fuel the hopeless to hold on just a little longer. The night quietly passed, and day 15 of survival arrived. Seon-ah woke up first and gently nudged Jin-seong to open his eyes. She noticed something on the other building and pointed it out to him. That guy who's been watching from the other side has sent another message. The note said that the other survivors are coming to them. To be precise, they are crossing over to join forces. This news gave Jin-song a jolt to his senses. The note was given just a moment ago. This will surely complicate things. Seon-ah saw the group moving busily, so they'll probably reach this floor soon. They might have seen the fire last night. There's no way to be certain if they are friendly or a pack of opportunistic raiders. They might be a dangerous bunch. Surveying the building's entrance, a bunch of men clad in winter clothing and equipped with blunt weapons came out. For now, Seon-ah and Jin-song decided to pack their things and ditch their spot. Those neighbors even have wooden shields to deal with the roaming zombies on the way. They are moving faster and more organized than expected. The three were handling the undead very systematically. They would lure the brainless beasts with sounds, isolating targets one by one, and killing them swiftly. At this rate, they would scale the office building within 10 minutes at most, 15 minutes at the latest. The duo finished packing, but they had already wasted quite a bit of time. The neighbors were doing really well until they messed up and lured way too many zombies to deal with. Realizing their mistake, they pushed forward and ran towards the building. Since a bunch of zombies are hot on their heels, the guy wielding a demolition mace smashed through the glass to make an entrance. Seeing the situation escalate, he turns his gaze to Seon-ah, wondering if she's holding up okay. She admits to having gathered everything, but they gotta figure out how they're gonna carry this solar panel. He tells her to leave it, but she protests, saying that leaving it behind would mean sacrificing their power. However, his reasoning is correct. Their survival is necessary. With a heavy heart, she gets up, agreeing with him. They lift their crafted weapons and begin walking. A little while later, they realize that the enemy is approaching. The place is ice cold, and their only options are to run either to the rooftop or the lower floor. Considering the cold environment, they don't choose the rooftop because it could halt their progress, so instead, they head to the lower floor. After reaching the 6th floor, they decide to block the entrance and keep their guard up. They hear footsteps coming toward them, and our hero tells Seon-ah to be ready for the encounter. Despite being nervous, both of them are prepared as the sounds grow closer and closer. Suddenly, she realizes something, and our boy confirms that the enemies are looking for survivors. The people are about to reach the 6th floor, and the duo keeps their weapons ready to fight them off. But after waiting for a while, they still haven't arrived, which makes Seon-ah feel that something is off. The ground begins to rumble and they're both devastated, unable to understand what's happening. A loud sound shakes them and they both fall to the ground, checking on each other to make sure they're all right. After a moment of confusion, they wonder if it was some kind of blast. But considering it's just the two of them there, why would anyone use explosives? Our boy thinks of something and remembers the note. Avoid the 5th floor under all circumstances. He also recalls when Seon-ah informed him that the section chief was likely to have survived. So there's a chance that he took shelter on either the 3rd or 5th floor of the building. Connecting the dots, he gets up and decides to go down to the 5th floor to check. Hesitant, Seon-ah wonders if this is the right choice, but he assures her that if his guess is correct, then they are definitely making the right decision. When they enter the 5th floor, they find the entire place in utter shambles. The walls are broken and the glass completely shattered. He urges Seon-ah to be careful and mindful of her surroundings. Suddenly, Seon-ah stops and tells him to look to the side. When he looks in that direction, his jaw drops. A corpse lies in front of his eyes. He steps in front of Seon-ah, keeping her behind him while he goes to check further. Upon investigation, he finds only 2 dead people and concludes that there aren't any more explosives left. He comes across a door that has been completely destroyed. Suddenly, he hears a voice mumbling about its terrible luck. Our boy recognizes the voice. He follows it and comes across Chief Choi. It all makes sense to our hero now. Chief Choi was the one who caused the blast. As Choi keeps mumbling to himself, our boy shakes him out of it. Choi is surprised yet nervous to see Jin-sung. His reaction seems a little too excited, almost suspicious. Choi begs Jin-sung to help him. He drags himself toward him, pleading to be saved because his leg has been blown off and he doesn't want to die yet. Our boy is shaken, and behind him comes Seon-ah, drawn by the sound of Choi's voice. Seeing Seon-ah, Choi is amazed and tries to convince her that it's really him. Faced with a tough choice, Jin-sung apologizes, saying he doesn't have any pills and that they aren't qualified doctors who can help him. Choi cries, saying he wants to keep living, and desperately tries to convince them that he can survive. Then he suggests a bizarre idea. If he becomes a zombie, he'll be able to live on. He pleads with them to bring a zombie to infect him so he doesn't lose his life, even if it means living as one of the undead. He's even willing to be thrown to the first floor so he can get bitten and infected. Hearing this, Jin-sung apologizes again and denies his request. Choi can't handle the rejection and begins cursing them out, yelling that he held off the raiders for them, and this is how they repay him. He throws out wild accusations, shouting that they're probably sleeping together and that's why they don't want to help him, because he'd just be a burden. They both stare at him, but he doesn't stop. Furious, he vows to take revenge and kill them both with him since one of the bombs still hasn't exploded. Choi drags himself toward the bombs, still cursing them out. They realize that they really were raiders and that the bag was empty. Seon-ah agrees with our boy. He observes that the shield is shattered from the explosion and is now unusable, but they manage to grab the hammer. However, it's really heavy to carry, so he's unsure whether they should keep it or not. Seon-ah looks traumatized. Seeing her, he tries to assure her that they would have died anyway. She looks in his direction, and he explains that Manager Choi would have slowly gone into shock from excessive blood loss, so dying early reduced his suffering. He guesses that she's feeling guilty and assures her that she did nothing wrong. He gives her another scenario, saying that if the manager had become a zombie, they would have had to kill him one way or another. That opens her eyes, and she steps out of her guilt, agreeing with our boy. At dawn, they both stand in front of a window, and she points outside to look in a certain direction. He bends down and sees the situation outside. It's insane. There are multiple zombies roaming around. Later, they browse through their phones, where people are talking about the explosion and how loud it was. Seon-ah realizes that the community knows where the explosion came from. Thinking about it, our boy is sure that since this has become a topic in the community, other raiders will come looking for it. Besides that, the zombies that have swarmed are also a huge problem. He admits that he's been watching since yesterday, and that the zombies are spreading more and more over time, with most of them staying nearby. They assume that the lobby doesn't even have enough room to take a step in. So, they decide to leave tomorrow at the earliest time because they can't let the zombies occupy the emergency exit as well. Hearing that plan, Seon-ah agrees with him. They get up to check the situation on the first floor. As they're walking, Seon-ah hears a weird noise and wonders if Jin-sung can hear it too. It's a loud banging sound, and he's sure that it's coming from upstairs. Slowly, they creep up to check what's causing the noise. They're shocked to see zombies inside the office. Seon-ah gasps in horror. Jin-sung can't wrap his head around how the zombies got in because he was sure that Choi had died earlier. He tries to calm Seon-ah down, suggesting that maybe a survivor from the third floor, one they didn't check, went up to the fifth floor, or perhaps something came through the broken window on the fifth floor. They begin heading back down to the first floor. They slightly open the door and see the entire floor filled with the undead. They knew the situation would be bad, but they didn't expect it to escalate to this extent. The first floor is completely occupied by zombies, and they look across to the security room. They know that if the manager had been in the security room, he would have heard the zombies closer than anyone. Our boy shuts the gate because going through that way would be fatal, so they decide to go out through the underground parking garage. Since they didn't see any zombies there before, they head down to check if it's still clear. When they reach the garage, there aren't as many undead compared to the first floor. Since it's suddenly gotten extremely cold and not everyone left their cars behind, there are many vehicles they can use as cover. If they move quickly, the zombies probably won't be able to smell them, as there's no wind in the parking area. Hiding behind a truck, Jin-sung asks Seon-ah to look at what's reflected in the car's mirror. She sees the B1F but can't clearly make it out because of her eyesight issues. She admits that she can only see the entrance leading from the passage to the B1F, but the number of zombies there seems similar to the number on B2F. Hearing that, Jin-sung suggests that they should go to the 7th floor for now. Later, as they sit together, Seon-ah suggests that it would be amazing if they could travel by car, but they're not sure if the car batteries still work, since the vehicles have been in the cold for too long. So they have to turn down that option. The only thing they can do now is walk, and they start curating a plan accordingly. The temperature keeps dropping, and at one point it reaches 35 degrees. 5 hours before departure, they try to get some sleep while shivering. Seon-ah wonders if Jin-sung was able to sleep, but he says no, as he keeps tossing and turning. She realizes he's been thinking about the person on the first floor and suggests that he could bring them along. He thanks her but declines, saying it would put both of their lives in danger. He admits that he just feels guilty because they seem trustworthy. She assures him that there will be more difficult situations once they're outside. Then, he asks her if she would be okay with others joining them, and she agrees. Quickly, he gets up to use his phone. He begins typing a message saying that he will be leaving at dawn tomorrow, and that if anyone else is planning to leave, they should come to the first floor emergency exit by 6 a.m. The next day, at 5:40 a.m., the duo is ready to leave. When they check the comments, no one has responded about joining them. Still, they hope someone will be at the location. When they reach the emergency exit, they find no one there and decide to wait a little longer before leaving, just in case anyone shows up. After waiting for 5 minutes, they begin to leave because nobody shows up. Looking outside the door, our boy notices a zombie that wasn't there before, and they realize they'll have to kill it and proceed with Plan A. Seon-ah realizes that the community was correct. The zombies keep circling the same spots while some of them just stand still. While hiding behind a car, they spot a zombie they need to take out. As our boy steps out from behind the car, the zombie leaps at him, growling. With confidence and strength, our boy knocks the zombie down with his weapon, and Seon-ah joins in to finish it off. The system notifies them that a party member has mined a coin, and that the coin is now bound to the party leader. After killing the zombie, our hero gives a thumbs up to his partner, and she smiles at him. Then they begin to walk and step outside. As soon as they do, they realize it's freezing, far colder than they expected. They could potentially freeze to death if they sleep outside, so they keep moving. Their first stop is Cheonggyechon, since zombies can't go up or down stairs. They're moving slower than expected, but this way they won't be spotted, and they can move calmly. After a while, they see their first destination. They choose to be careful because there are many zombies roaming around the police station. Bit by bit, they keep covering distance, and suddenly it begins to snow. The wind starts to blow, which means their scent can now be carried to the zombies. The wind direction is toward the police station, and soon enough, the zombies in that area catch their scent and begin running toward them. Both of them panic, wondering what to do, because if they go down to their first stop, they'll end up dead. The zombies can't walk down, but that doesn't mean they can't jump down, and the amount of noise that would make would attract even more zombies. For now, they have to get inside a building, but the problem is that most of the buildings are already occupied by zombies. If they break into one, it could attract even more of the undead. They have to act quickly, so they run toward the left, to a bus. They try to open the bus door, but no matter how hard they try, it's locked. Our boy spots a key inside. A ray of hope sparks. The door somehow opens, and the zombies are quick to follow them. The duo manages to block the gate somehow, but the number of zombies is increasing, and the bus won't start. Seon-ah panics while Jin-sung tries his best to start the bus so they can escape. Finally, the bus starts, and Seon-ah falls back, prompting our hero to ask if she's okay. She gets up and assures him that she's all right. The protagonist tells her to hold on tightly because he's going to drive really fast. Without wasting a moment, he hits the accelerator, but after going a bit further, he realizes the roads are completely frozen, and they suddenly have to stop. When the bus stops, she looks outside the window, then checks the door and realizes that it's blocked. They've managed to escape the initial danger, but still, they don't know what to do next. They'll need something to distract the zombies, but until something passes by, the zombies can't be distracted. Little by little, the crowd of zombies grows, and if they keep banging on the door, the bus might fall over. They're about to lose hope, wondering if it's going to end like this for them. Our hero decides not to give up because it took too much for him to get this far. As he forces himself to think harder, a miracle happens. Suddenly, a loud clang distracts the zombies, and they run off to see what caused the noise. The duo sighs in relief as most of the zombies leave them. Some still remain, but they're sure those will leave on their own soon. Then the hero wonders where the noise came from, and Seon-ah points toward an open window of a nearby building, from which the object must have fallen. She looks up, guessing it was probably from the second or third floor. Our hero wonders who could have helped them like that, and Seon-ah happily says that it could be a survivor with some humanity left. Suddenly, she sees that it's the same person who helped them before, an angel in disguise. The person waves at them, and by the looks of it, it seems to be a woman. Seon-ah looks closely and sees the woman watching them through binoculars. Hearing that amazes the protagonist, and they both type on their phone, thanking her for saving them. The woman waves a thumbs up in response. Both of them are overjoyed, grateful for how kind the woman was to save them from the undead. Seon-ah is happy that not all survivors are raiders, that there are still good people left. Even Jin-sung jokes that he wants to treat her to some instant noodles as a thank you. His partner reminds him that they don't have any food left, and they both laugh about the situation they're stuck in. Then, Seon-ah wonders if there might be some ramen left in the distribution warehouse, and Jin-sung affirms that the first thing they'll grab is some ramen. Later, in the bus, they're both freezing despite being wrapped in all the clothing they have. Jin-sung notices that Seon-ah seems a little off, and she's surprised to see that he's still awake. He looks at her and realizes she looks extremely pale, then sneezes himself, showing that he's caught a cold too. He realizes that the bus can't keep the cold out. Seon-ah insists she'll be fine, but when he feels her hand, it's ice cold. Even her lips are turning blue, and she's been shaking. He knows that if they don't warm up quickly, they'll become completely immobile. They start thinking of ways to stay warm, and the protagonist suggests lighting a fire to keep them warm. Seon-ah worries that they'll suffocate if they build a fire inside the bus, but Jin-sung is ready to prepare a small vent for the smoke. They can't break a window because the zombies would try to reach them, so they use their weapons to carve a vent in the roof of the bus. They make 3 holes for ventilation. Earlier, they had carried some papers, so they're able to start a small fire. After they build the fire, they begin to warm up. Seon-ah looks at her phone and shows Jin-sung a post that was made for them. The post is from the people who helped them earlier, asking if they could join them. To confirm that the post is meant for them, they exchange details about the surroundings, the parked car near the bus, the nearby convenience store. After confirming everything, Jin-sung thanks them for their help, and the people ask if they can join them for their future travels. He looks up at Seon-ah, wondering what they should do about this situation. A guy opens his window to take a look outside and ends up seeing an undead trying to climb a wall. Freaking out, he begins to throw everything he can find at the zombie, hitting its head until it falls down and dies. Talking about it online, he questions whether the zombies are some kind of mutants. He looks at the undead closely, and the face seems weirdly familiar. So he checks, and it's revealed that it was the manager of the indoor climbing gym next door. This incident indicates that zombies can still retain skills from before they turned into the undead. At 8:56 a.m., our duo begins to leave the bus. As they are walking, Seon-ah asks for Jin-sung's opinion about the post they saw earlier about the mutants, to which he replies that he saw it coming. That's because previously, when Manager Choi died in the explosion that blew out the windows, it's highly likely that the zombies got in by climbing the building's walls. Then, they wait for the people who are supposed to join them. And at 9 a.m., sharp, a girl steps out. Seon-ah happily goes to her. She sees that the girl is wearing a thick padded jacket, which makes Seon-ah jealous. Jin-sung assures her that they can get some winter clothes later. Seon-ah looks at the woman, who seems super kind, and just like that, they're about to become a trio. But fate has different plans for the kind woman. Out of nowhere, a zombie leaps and attacks her, biting into her neck, which shocks the duo. The zombie then begins devouring her remains, and our guy covers his mouth, realizing that the zombies are coming because of their scent. If they stay there, they'll be the next meal, so they have to move quickly. With that said, he starts moving, but Seon-ah is frozen in shock. He reminds her that they have to go. She looks pale from what she just witnessed, so he urges her to put her emotions aside and move in order to survive. She looks at him, knowing he's right, and they start heading toward their destination again. They reach an underground station, but wonder if this is the right way. Being on the surface is risky, so they decide the better option is to stay underground. They wonder if the people who were heading home had been infected. Suddenly the wind begins to blow again, and they have no other choice but to go downstairs. Seon-ah looks around and finds no zombies, only the corpses of people who look like they were trampled by the crowd. Jin-sung thinks that might indicate that not all of them were run over, because if they were all stuck in the subway, that just means they couldn't manage to escape. She taps him on the shoulder, and when he looks at her, she points toward a convenience store, which brings a bright smile to the protagonist's face. When they step inside, they find the store completely empty. Seon-ah observes the scene and wonders if they should check the storage room. Entering the room, they find 4 cans of beer, which look like someone left them there on purpose. So, they decide to take 2 of them. Making their way outside, they go to a clothing store, but it's completely looted. Seon-ah expected that, and since it was supposed to be summer, there wouldn't be any winter clothing anyway. Still, she didn't expect everything to be gone. Jin-sung then looks at the phone shop next door, which seems completely untouched. He concludes that they'll have to walk more than they expected, hoping it won't be over 20 kilometers. Seon-ah then tells him about what she saw earlier on the wall, which she found strange but took a picture of. The wall said, "I expected chaos to come, but not like this. It's far beyond anything I imagined. I'm scared. What should I do? Where should I go? I can't find my way." Reading that, it seems like it was written by the person who caused this whole situation. Seon-ah's phone runs out of battery, and they decide to keep walking. As they walk, they find the area completely clean, which seems eerily strange to them. There aren't even any animals. Even the zombie corpses are nowhere to be found, which means they might have gathered somewhere. Seon-ah feels a chill just thinking about what would happen if they accidentally ran into them. After walking for a while, they finally come across the train. They walk inside the train, inspecting everything inside, but they find nothing, not even a dead body. Suddenly, Seon-ah comes across something. It is a box with a kitchen knife in it. She observes the blade closely, which looks sharp despite being short, and could still be useful. Then Jin-sung pulls out a Bluetooth speaker that he found in another compartment and shows it to Seon-ah. It can be useful to lure zombies. After looking a bit more, they find nothing else, realizing they should have come here earlier. They begin to head out and come across something strange. It's a zombie, but the zombie isn't reacting to light or sound. The undead looks really tall, and looking closely, it seems oddly familiar. Seon-ah recognizes him as a retired pro baseball player from the KBO. No wonder the zombie is so tall. Knowing the backstory, they want to stay away and be careful, as it could easily overpower them. They slowly move behind the zombie, trying not to draw its attention or provoke it, saving themselves from unnecessary attacks. No matter how quiet they are, the zombie ends up reacting and notices them. It begins to run in their direction, and Jin-song yells at Seon-ah to follow the same plan as last time. She Rogers, and Jin-song sees how fast the zombie is. The zombie tries to leap at him, but he stabs it with his weapon, and Seon-ah hits it in the head to kill it. But they're both shaken as their weapon breaks on impact. It was a golf club, and they can't believe how strong this guy is. The zombie angrily looks at them and almost attacks Seon-ah. Seon-ah smartly moves behind it and, with the broken golf club, decides to attack from the rear. She stabs the stick into its head, killing the zombie instantly. Both of them look at it while it's on the ground, in awe of its physical power, because it kept dragging itself despite being stabbed in the shoulder. Jin-song apologizes that he couldn't defend her, but she understands there was absolutely nothing he could have done either. Seon-ah pulls the broken golf club from the zombie's head and wonders if they should attach it to the wooden spear now. Jin-song approves of the idea since the wooden spear was broken too, so now they can make a new weapon out of two broken ones. After a while, they craft a new weapon and get moving once again. They keep walking, but still have no luck finding anything useful, which makes them think the area has already been raided by someone else. The only reassuring thing is that they'll reach Sinseol Dong Station soon enough. As they're walking, there's a huge bang, like an explosion, and they instantly decide not to go further. They run away from the spot and take shelter in a nearby train. Seon-ah worriedly wonders what that was, and Jin-song asks her to stay silent. He looks out the window to see what it is and notices something coming their way. Suddenly, a whole swarm of zombies charges toward them. They stay prepared to fight, but the zombies run in a different direction. Seon-ah sighs in relief, but Jin-song urges her to keep her guard up, because that surely wasn't the end back there, where the zombies emerged from. They wonder what to do next: head toward the station where many zombies are already roaming around, or go in the direction of the explosion. Seon-ah suggests that they should just hide, because if they pass by like last time, they're going to end up in a messed up situation. But it's also too risky to stay behind. Jin-song explains that the zombies ran past them without even sniffing them out, but the ones walking slowly could easily smell them. Seon-ah decides to listen to what Jin-song has to say, and he decides they should head back the way they came and move quickly before the zombies start to notice them. Soon they reach Section 3 and climb up onto a train. Seon-ah wonders where the zombies are, and he assures her that they can avoid them as long as they don't make any mistakes. Then he pulls Seon-ah to the top of the train, but his hands slip from sweat, and he suddenly drops her to the ground, making a loud noise. The zombies hear the thud, and Seon-ah is suddenly chased by them. Jin-song urgently grabs Seon-ah and pulls her on top of the train. A zombie manages to grab her foot, but she kicks it off. The entire area becomes flooded with the undead, and they begin to run toward the exit. Somehow they reach the stairs, fight off a zombie, and run away. After a while, they manage to escape and sit behind a closed door, taking a moment to catch their breath. They were almost devoured by the zombies, but were saved by an inch. Then Jin-song asks Seon-ah to show him her foot because a zombie tried to grab it. They take off her shoe and see a small mark, likely caused by the zombie's claw. Thankfully, it wasn't a bite, just a scratch, but it still makes her worried because it could also cause an infection. She begins to cry, thinking she might die right there or become a zombie too. Later on, they disinfect the wound, which makes her feel better about the whole thing. It's a relief that they had a first aid kit with them. Jin-song looks at the kit, realizing that a lot of things are missing from it. Then, they look around the place, which seems to have already been raided because there's no food or anything useful left behind. Jin-song agrees, but they decide to rest for a bit after the fight they just had. He looks around and finds a key, brightening up his face. Seeing the key, he is relieved that at least they don't have to worry about where to sleep safely tonight. Surely this isn't what he was looking for, so he continues his search. He realizes that someone has already raided this place because things aren't where they should be. Then, he begins to look through the books and finds a logbook. Inside it, the password for the locker. Seon-ah is impressed by Jin-song's smart play as he unlocks the safe. He admits that he used to work for the subway previously and discovered that they always wrote the safe passwords in the logbook. She wonders if there is something special inside the safe, but he admits that it's mostly just the station keys. But the only thing that matters for them is what he pulls out, and it is a box with a gun. He tells her that it's a gas gun, which subway stations always keep with them. She wonders why something so dangerous would be kept in a subway station that could risk lives. He explains that the station staff collects cash every morning, and just in case they ever get attacked by robbers, the gas gun was supposed to protect them, and then he hands her over the gun to keep it with her. She denies, and the reason behind that is, she has never held a gun before, and she probably wouldn't be able to pull the trigger when it's the time to pull it and protect them from potential danger. He understands her situation and then gives her the key instead. She takes it, and he tells her that the key belongs to the staff room, hurriedly opening the door. The duo is delighted when the key works and the door opens. They walk inside and the next sight devastates them. They come across a man who looks like he has been starved or frozen to death. They take off his clothes to take with them because they need it. Then, the duo hops in a bed, wrapped up in sheets, and they feel so much better than before. Seon-ah suggests that they take the blankets with them as their bags are already empty because they have run out of food. For the first time in a long while, they have been comfortably laying down, and they feel sleepy, so they decide to get some rest because they already have been exhausted from running and saving themselves from the undead. They have almost 2 days of food left with them, and they need to reach the warehouse before then. He looks at the winter clothing and realizes that they'll eventually have to go up again, so they might need the clothing. Even things seem unstable underground, and the worst case would be that they would have to cover even more distance above the ground. Right now, he has 8 coins and he can afford to buy one for himself and one for his partner. He is unable to decide, so he thinks about it for later on. He looks at the shop and sees new stuff, wondering if the shop was updated. Then, he begins to wake up his partner, and she begs for 5 more minutes. Yawning, Seon-ah wakes up and they begin to walk out after gathering their stuff. What they see outside shocks them. Some cars were placed and it looked like that they were placed on purpose over there. Seon-ah climbs up to check with a torch in her mouth. What she sees brings complete horror to her face. A dozen zombies on the opposite side. Jin-sung decides that they should try the other side, but it has also been swarmed completely by the zombies. They begin to think if there is some way they can mask their scent so they can be safe. Jin-sung looks at the shop, and the shop says that it will let them purchase hidden items, not listen in the shop. If the item doesn't exist, the scanner hasn't been used. And if the item exists, the scanner is used even if they don't buy it. Jin-sung purchases the Explorer item and a search icon appears. He decides to use it and asks the Explorer to search for a vaccine, but the search comes back negative, and when he commands to search for a zombie vaccine, the result comes out the same. After that, he again searches for zombie antibodies, but the search still returns empty. After several attempts with different keywords, he accepted his defeat. He was already prepared to be disappointed, but according to him, it was worth a try. Suddenly, he decides to try something different and searches for deodorant. The Explorer finds the deodorant for him, which costs 1 coin. In addition, the effect of the deodorant lasts for only 90 minutes. Jin-sung is glad that he was able to get a deodorant at least, although he is shocked by how expensive it is. From their current location to Uidong is roughly 11 kilometers, and avoiding zombies in the cold will take about 4 hours. He realizes that he and Seon-ah will need at least 3 deodorants each. He checks his coins and realizes that he has 7 left. Having no choice, he buys the deodorants even though he was saving up the coins. The protagonist grabs the deodorants and hands Seon-ah her bottles. Shocked, Seon-ah asks him how he got them. The hero claims that he found them in a bag on the platform. Seon-ah wonders if they will work or not, and Jin-sung suggests giving it a try, and if it doesn't work, they can return. The two then apply the deodorant on their bodies and their backpacks as well. Once they are ready, they step out of the subway. The protagonist suggests that they speed up because they might run into zombies. Just then, the wind starts blowing really hard. Seon-ah spots a zombie nearby and tells Jin-sung about it. They walk closer to the zombie, and to their surprise, it does not move or react to them. They wonder if the deodorant is working, but then the zombie lets out a scream into the air. They are left wondering if the zombie noticed them. However, they stay still and fortunately the zombie turns around. The two then realize that the deodorant is actually working. Jin-sung suggests that they keep going. After a while, they walk past a gun shop. Seon-ah notices that the store looks untouched and believes that either raiders have cleared it out or the shop owner is still inside protecting it. Jin-sung suggests that they continue moving and save the shop for another time because anyone inside would likely be armed. Not long after, they arrive at Suyuri Station. Jin-sung is not impressed with the journey so far because he believed they would already be in Uidong by now. He then suggests that they start looking for a place to spend the night. Seon-ah offers to check the right side while Jin-sung checks the left. They assess the area and notice that some of the windows are still intact. Then Jin-seong finds a place with the door locked, but zombies are wandering around the area, so he realizes the place is not suitable for them. He regroups with Seon-ah, who also was not able to find a good place for them to stay. Jin-sung's ideal location is somewhere safe that is not overrun by zombies and sealed enough to keep new ones out. The two then enter a building to explore. After some time searching, Seon-ah believes the coast is clear because there are no zombies nearby. She tries opening one of the doors, but it does not budge. Seon-ah then suggests that they break it down. However, Jin-sung warns not to do it because the sound of breaking glass could attract zombies. Seon-ah agrees with him, but just as she is about to give up, Jin-sung insists that there might be another way. In hopes there is, he scans around on the shelves, in the cupboards, and manages to find some spare keys. Amazed, Seon-ah wonders how he happened to know they were there. Jin-sung explains that he had noticed earlier that the cafe stays open till late and that there are always shifts between those who close the store and those who open the store. Since keys often get misplaced, they usually hide a spare key nearby. Using the keys, he opens the door and the two gain access to the cafe. They search the place and are fortunate enough to find flour and eggs that are still untouched. Seon-ah questions what they should do with the flour, and Jin Sung suggests leaving it and coming back for it later since it is heavy to carry. Seon Ah proposes hiding it instead, and the protagonist agrees with her idea. In addition to the food, they also found a power bank and a wristwatch. While sitting down, Jin Sung remarks that at their current pace, they should be able to reach the warehouse by the next day. He then adds that it would be unfortunate if they fail to make it. Jin Sung reveals that they only have 4 chocolate bars left. Seon Ah expresses her worry, thinking there might already be people at the warehouse just like the ones at the gun shop. She then comes up with another idea and says that they should set up a code word in case either of them gets into trouble. Without arguing, Jin Sung agrees with the proposal, and Seon Ah begins thinking of a code word for them. Seon Ah suggests that they talk informally if they face danger involving a ranged weapon like guns. Jin Sung then follows by suggesting that they use polite speech if they face a non-ranged weapon. Seon Ah then decides that she will call him Appa if they can handle it, but if the situation is unclear, she will call him Sir, and if they need to run away or surrender, she will call him Sunbai. With these code words, Seon Ah believes that their words will not stand out too much. Jin Sung agrees with the idea. Seon Ah remarks that they can finally rest, but suddenly, thunder and lightning strike the area. This shocks and scares them since thunder and lightning are not common during snowy weather. Jin Sung realizes that the snow will pile up even more, while Seon Ah worries that their trip the next day will be worse. Trying not to think about tomorrow's problems, Seon Ah announces that she is going to sleep. While Seon Ah is sleeping, Jin Sung rests on a chair but suddenly hears a strange noise outside. He stands up to check and is surprised to see a man on a motorcycle. Jin Sung now realizes that motorcycles can move through snowy roads, but he wonders why the man is traveling so late at night. To his surprise, the motorcycle seems to be going in the same direction as them. Jin Sung thinks that the man might be going somewhere else, but he has a bad feeling. Just then, he sees a group of zombies following the motorcycle's trail. Seon Ah wakes up to see what is happening. Jin Sung quickly explains to her about the motorcycle and that it attracted zombies with its noise. Seon Ah becomes worried since the zombies seem to number in the hundreds. Jin Sung hits his head in frustration, realizing that even if only a few of them remain by the time they get there, their trip will be harder than the day before. Seon Ah questions what they should do next. Jin Sung thinks of 2 possible situations. Either the rider met the zombies by accident and ran away, or they are leading the group somewhere on purpose. He worries that they might get caught up in whatever the rider is doing. Seon Ah points out that they don't have enough food to waste time. Jin Sung agrees and adds that since their destination is a little over 3 kilometers away, they can't turn back either. Suddenly, Jin Sung gets an idea and suggests that they check the community feed because there might be something useful there. Seon Ah feels glad that they found a power bank earlier. When they open the feed, the first few posts show people surprised by the thunder and lightning during the snow. One person reports it is happening in Gangbuk, while another in Suwon notes the weather there is normal. Seon Ah mentions that it is snowing in other areas too. Jin Sung agrees but adds that this information does not help them. They keep scrolling and come across a post about a shelter in Yeongjongdo. One user mentions meeting survivors who believe there's a large shelter there, while another dismisses the claim, arguing that the government has already fallen. The original poster agrees, explaining that the message about the shelter was something written on a sign. Someone else claims they've been there and barely escaped, warning that the place isn't a real shelter but a dangerous cult, pleading with others not to go. Another user dismisses it, saying it sounds like nonsense. The poster then questions if they truly believe the story is fake, but the other person argues that people wouldn't change so quickly since it's only been a month since the outbreak. The poster insists they're just warning others to stay safe. They explain that with the world in ruins and food so limited, it's suspicious for any group to be handing out food and clothes for free. They suspect the group is gathering people for some hidden purpose. After reading the discussion, Seon Ah turns to Jin Sung for his opinion, admitting that the whole thing makes her uneasy. Jin Sung agrees that the shelter seems suspicious since the outbreak started only 3 weeks ago, yet this group already has a large place to house people and provide supplies. He recalls that Deputy Yoon Hyuk-jae once mentioned heading to the west coast and wonders if they can find him to learn more. Finally, he suggests they forget about the shelter for now, and Seon Ah nods in agreement. Jin Sung sets the phone aside, feeling disappointed that there's still no news about the rider. Jin Sung decides that they will just have to stick to their original plan. They finish the last of their chocolates and continue their journey toward the warehouse. However, Jin Sung warns Seon Ah that they may have to stop or go back if they meet a group of zombies on the way. Soon after, they use the last of their deodorants, and Jin Sung tells Seon Ah that they need to move quickly since there are not many zombies on the streets. A little later, Seon Ah whispers that they must be close now. Jin Sung scans the air as the fog thickens, cutting off their view. He checks his watch and frowns as the deodorant's effect fades. If they run into zombies, he warns, they'll have no choice but to fight. Just then, Seon Ah sees the warehouse's gate and quickly calls Jin Sung's attention to it. Jin Sung's face lights up with joy at how big it is. He feels sure that with the warehouse, they will not have to worry about supplies anymore. Seon Ah tries to open the door, but it will not move. She feels that something is wrong since the warehouse used to be open, and now there is barbed wire on it that was not there before. Jinsung wonders if she's been there recently, and she explains that her last visit was a few months ago. Our boy suggests they look for another way in. Soon, Seon-ah spots a section of the fence where the barbed wire is missing. She tells Jinsung she's going to climb over, but he stops her, warning that it's too dangerous to enter without knowing what's inside. He's also uneasy about why that part of the fence was left open. Seon-ah reminds him that they have no other choice. The deodorant's effect is gone, and they need both shelter and food. Hearing this, he agrees but tells her to be careful since there might be danger inside. Seon-ah steps back, runs forward, and uses his hands to help her climb over the fence. Sitting on top, she mentions that the warehouse looks empty. She announces that she is going to jump down, but she does not know that a strange person is hiding behind some cover. Just as Seon-ah lands, the person appears behind her, points a gun at her head, and tells her to raise her hands. The strange man searches Seon-ah's body and feels relieved when he finds no weapons on her. He asks if she has any companions, and Seon-ah answers honestly, mentioning that her friend is outside the building. He inquires how many, and she explains that there is only one. The man then orders her to call her companion and tell them to come through the front gate. With a gun pointed at her head, Seon-ah informally calls Jinsung's name and tells him to come to the front gate. Jinsung immediately knows that something is wrong when he hears this. Because she is speaking casually, he realizes she is being held hostage by someone with a gun. He also notices that she used his name, which means they can handle the attacker. The protagonist reaches into his backpack and takes out the gun he had hidden inside. He tells the attacker that he is coming forward just as asked. The hero hides behind the gate, and when the attacker shouts at him to drop his weapon, Jinsung makes it seem like his spear is his only weapon. He drops the spear and slowly starts walking out. The protagonist feels unsure about what to do next, because his gas gun has a short range, which means he needs to get closer to use it, but he cannot move any nearer without being noticed. Jinsung decides to trick the attacker. He mentions that he dropped his weapon and tells the man to let his companion go. The attacker orders Seon-ah to move forward. Once the attacker is close enough, Jinsung jumps out from his hiding spot, points his gun at the man, and screams at Seon-ah to bend. Seon-ah, ready for action, quickly bends down before either of them fires. The hero shoots first, and the gas hits the attacker's face, making him scream in pain. While screaming, the man fires his gun too, but the bullet barely misses. The protagonist runs out into the open as Seon-ah rushes to get behind the man and tackles him to the ground. Jinsung pulls duct tape from his backpack and throws it to Seon-ah so she can tie him up. Just then, Jinsung hears the noise of zombies getting closer because of the gunshot. He yells at Seon-ah to grab the key from the attacker. The man screams and refuses to hand it over. Seon-ah shouts at him to give her the key, while Jinsung warns that the zombies are coming closer and they are running out of time. Seon-ah kicks the man hard and searches his pockets until she finds the key. She runs to the gate and tries to open it. While the hero fights off the approaching zombies, Seon-ah keeps trying the different keys, but none of them seem to work. A zombie suddenly charges at the protagonist. He dodges, and the zombie slams into the gate. At that moment, Seon-ah manages to unlock it and screams for the hero to get inside. The two of them quickly rush in and close the gate before the zombies can enter. Seon-ah locks the gate with chains and a lock while checking Jinsung if he is hurt. The protagonist assures her that he is fine and checks if she is okay. The hero says that the gunfire was what attracted the zombies and suggests that they go inside for now. But when they turn around, they realize that they still have to deal with the strange man. The man is screaming in pain because the gas hurt his eyes. Then the protagonist suggests that they should get him into the building. The two grab him, and just as they raise him, they realize that it is assistant manager Choi Jae-sung. After they have settled inside the building and Jae-sung has washed off his burning eyes, Seon-ah asks Jinsung if Jae-sung is the one he met in the first-floor security room. The protagonist agrees. Seon-ah whispers to the hero that she feels guilty since she didn't expect that they would meet him in such a strange way. The protagonist advises Jae-sung not to wipe his eyes with a towel. The manager admits that he knows, but his eyes still hurt. Our boy apologizes, telling him that the effect of the gas gun will last for at least a day. Jae-sung remarks that he is in trouble now. While making tea in the kettle, he adds that there would have been no need for a fight if they had told him beforehand, but at the same time, he has no excuse since he was the first to use violence. The hero thanks Jae-sung for understanding. The manager then offers the two a warm cup of tea. As they enjoy the tea, Jinsung questions Jae-sung about when he arrived at the warehouse, and he reveals that he got there 3 days ago. He confesses that the real reason he came was because of the solar panels. Seon-ah's face lights up in shock when she hears that there are solar panels in the warehouse too. He adds that he was about to install them when he saw the two of them in the morning. He explains that he initially placed them on the lower windows, but because the efficiency was low, he had to move them up to the roof. Seon-ah wonders if it is difficult to manage the roof when it snows. The protagonist is relieved that the situation worked out well since Jae-sung was unwilling to leave the warehouse in the first place. Jae-sung then reveals that he is thinking of covering the solar panels with glass to prevent the snow from falling onto them. He mentions that there are a lot of supplies for them to work with. Jin-sung then inquires with Jae-sung if there is enough supply in the warehouse. The manager explains that the warehouse is well stocked on construction materials, but when it comes to food, there is some doubt. Seon-ah wonders if it is because the food supply is in sight too. Jae-sung agrees and reveals that when he went there to check it out, the roof of the building had collapsed under the snow. He only managed to bring back what he could from the area. However, none of the food would spoil because it is frozen. He tells the two that once they have enough manpower and equipment, they can retrieve more food supplies. Our hero is relieved to hear this. The protagonist then brings up the big question. He apologizes for arriving uninvited and asks Jae-sung if they can stay at the warehouse. Jin-sung reflects that in this world, survival belongs to those who act first, and that working together is the best way to keep the place safe. Jae-sung respectfully agrees. The protagonist and Seon-ah both breathe a sigh of relief, their tension fading into quiet excitement. Jae-sung reveals that he was already planning to ask them to stay. After what happened between them earlier, he realized that he didn't have the manpower to defend the warehouse. He knows that more people will come, and if he stays alone, he will eventually lose the warehouse. Jae-sung is glad that the two showed up at the right time to become his allies. Jin-sung thanks Jae-sung for trusting them. Seon-ah then points out that the zombies are still all around the warehouse. This surprises the manager, who believed that the zombies would have spread out. Hiro then questions Jae-sung about how he was able to get his hands on a gun, and he reveals that he picked it up from a dead police officer who had killed himself. He mentions that he has seen the bodies of several people who chose to end their lives rather than become zombies. Jae-sung explains that he took the gun and kept it with him for self-defense. However, he ended up using it uselessly. Jin-sung then inquires if there are any bullets left in the gun, and he denies. The protagonist remarks that it's unfortunate. Seon-ah is thankful that with the zombies lingering outside the warehouse, outsiders will not have easy access to the building. The protagonist agrees, calling it a hidden blessing. Just then, Jin-sung's stomach growls and Jae-sung asks if he has not eaten. Moments later, Jae-sung prepares ramen for them. The duo is captivated by the food, and Jae-sung offers to prepare more for them if they want. Excitedly, Seon-ah reveals that they have something, and the protagonist looks confused. Just then, she pulls out 2 cans of beer. While they enjoy the ramen, Jae-sung asks if they should raise a toast. They then toast to new allies and the ramen using the beer. After they are done eating till they are full, Jin-sung mentions that it has been a long time since he last had a full meal and that it feels good to eat something hot. He talks about how his stomach is full, his body is warm, and he finally has a place to rest. He admits that all his worries have disappeared for that moment, and it feels peaceful. The trio is shivering from the cold, with Jin-sung feeling frustrated as the temperature keeps dropping quicker than they anticipated. Seon-ah wonders if there's any heating system in the building, but Jae-sung denies as they have stopped working. Jin-sung suggests that it's probably because of the power outage and suddenly feels a drop in temperature too. Jae-sung reports what he saw on the community board, the temperature being 35 degrees. Temporarily, Jin-sung wonders if they can burn something for the heat. Seon-ah mentions that their company doesn't deal with electronic products. In response, Jae-sung reveals that there's a burner in the warehouse and suggests using it as a heater. Seon-ah and Jin-sung's eyes light up with excitement at the idea. The protagonist asks if there's any firewood available. Unfortunately, Jae-sung explains that he's searched thoroughly but hasn't found any. The protagonist notes that they'll need to gather new firewood, but Jae-sung adds that their supplies are already running low. Jin-sung suggests burning old clothes instead, but Jae-sung points out that most of them contain plastic, making that unsafe. While the two continue discussing alternatives, Seon-ah seems deep in thought. Suddenly, she stands up and announces that there's a forest right behind the building. Both Jae-sung and Jin-sung stare at her in surprise and ask if she's sure. Seon-ah explains that the trees would make excellent firewood, especially since they're likely dead from the cold by now. Jae-sung agrees that it's a good idea and suggests they collect some once it's safe to go outside. He offers to get the burner in the meantime, and Jin-sung quickly agrees. Soon after, the two men get ready to fetch the burner. As they walk, Jin-sung asks if the first floor holds daily supplies except for food, and the second floor has clothing. Jae-sung confirms and adds that disposable and hygiene products are also stored on the first floor. The protagonist thinks to himself that he can finally brush his teeth. Jae-sung continues, explaining that heavier daily supplies, like laundry racks, are on the 3rd floor, while kitchen supplies are on the 4th. Jin-sung remarks that pots, kettles, and kitchen knives won't be a problem anymore. Jae-sung agrees, but points out that kitchen knives aren't ideal for fighting zombies since they have short reach. He goes on to say that office supplies, such as pencils, pens, stamps, and notebooks, are kept on the 5th floor. Jin-sung thinks aloud that they probably won't need any of those. Lastly, Jae-sung mentions that the basement is used as a parking lot. The protagonist then asks about winter clothes. Jae-sung says there are plenty and suggests they pick some out after retrieving the burner. Jin-sung agrees, adding that there probably weren't many shoes. Jae-sung nods, explaining that he's been wearing multiple pairs of socks instead, though it feels uncomfortable in larger shoes. He mentions that his original shoe size is 270. Jin-sung then purchases a pair of winter boots for 3 coins. He realizes that whenever he buys something, the item appears exactly where he wants it. Taking the shoes out of his backpack, Jae-sung asks if something's wrong. The protagonist pulls out the boots and offers them to him. Shocked, Jae-sung questions how that's possible. Jin-sung replies that he had an extra pair. Grateful, Jae-sung tries them on and says they fit perfectly. The protagonist adds that they're well insulated and comfortable. Jae-sung thanks him again. The system notifies that an ally has been added. The protagonist now has 3 party members. Jin-sung realizes the system adds people as party members when he gives them gifts. As they walk through the hallway, they stop in front of the burner. Jae-sung points out that there are many others, but this one is best for indoor use. The protagonist picks up the burner and asks if they should head back. As they climb the stairs, he remembers that Jae-sung used to smoke and wonders if sharing a few cigarettes might help strengthen their bond. Before they can continue, Jin-sung tells them to wait, saying he has something the building doesn't. Confused, Jae-sung glances out the window, then his eyes widen as Jin-sung pulls out a box of cigarettes. Jae-sung shouts with joy, exclaiming that he hasn't smoked since the outbreak. The protagonist quickly explains that the cigarettes were meant for the ramen he made earlier. Jin-sung places 3 cigarettes in Jae-sung's palm, surprising him with the amount. Smiling, Jin-sung says they're a community now. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Jae-sung clutches his chest, then suddenly leaps forward to hug him, declaring his love and calling him Sir. Jin-sung laughs and suggests they drop the formalities and speak casually from now on. Soon after, they return to Seon-ah and announce that they're back, placing the burner down. The protagonist then pulls out 2 padded jackets, saying it's a bonus. Overjoyed, Seon-ah grabs them immediately. He also reveals that he brought face wash, toothbrushes, and toothpaste. Delighted, Seon-ah jumps to hug him, causing him to drop the items. She excitedly takes them and says she wants to use them right away. Jae-sung comments that she looks happy, and Jin-sung replies that it's because they haven't cleaned up in a long time. After that, they spend 3 days setting up camp, turning Jae-sung's space into a kitchen and placing 3 mattresses and sleeping bags in the room next to it. They couldn't install solar panels on the roof since snow and strong winds might break the windows, so they placed as many as they could on the 5th floor instead. Meanwhile, zombies gradually started to spread out. Looking out the window, Seon-ah reports that almost no zombies are surrounding the building now. Sitting at the table, the protagonist remarks that since things have settled down, it's time to go outside. He adds that they should get weapons first and mentions the gun shop they saw earlier. Seon-ah raises her hand and agrees to go out, but warns that traveling far will be difficult. Jin-sung agrees, thinking she's right, as they don't have enough coins to avoid zombies, and the cold is harsh. He wishes they had a car so they wouldn't have to worry about zombies or looters. Elsewhere, the roar of a motorcycle draws a group of zombies, while a boy on a bicycle in Banghak-dong is being chased by the horde. He carries his bike up the stairs to escape. At first, he thinks the rider is fleeing too, but then realizes they're deliberately leading the zombies toward people. The boy quickly posts about it on the community feed, warning that the rider is heading toward Weidong next and telling everyone there to be careful. After setting up the base camp, they agreed to assign different responsibilities to each member. Seon-ah is in the storeroom, carefully counting the dishes one by one. She is responsible for organizing the interior and managing the inventory in the storage warehouse. A moment later, Jae-sung walks in. Seon-ah turns to him and checks if he needs help with something. Jae-sung, who handles gathering information for the community, repairing supplies, and taking care of mechanical tasks, explains that he was supposed to test the repaired solar generator that day. Seon-ah nods, recalling that she remembers. He goes on that since it has been cloudy for several days, the generator hasn't charged at all, making the test impossible. No data is coming through, so he inquires if there's anything else he can do to help. As she places a box of dishes on a shelf, Seon-ah mentions that she needs to check the stock of kitchen supplies and asks for his help. Jae-sung agrees immediately and starts assisting her. Meanwhile, Jin-sung, who is in charge of patrolling the storage area, keeping watch outside and planning for future needs, is doing his regular rounds. During his patrol, he enters the storeroom and sees Seon-ah and Jae-sung working together. He greets them casually, surprised to find them there. Seon-ah smiles and returns his greeting. The protagonist wonders if Jae-sung is helping out, and Jae-sung nods, explaining that the weather is too bad for him to continue his own work. He mentions that the solar power system has completely shut down. Jin-sung remarks that he expected it since the weather outside is worse than before. He adds that it's not only cloudy, but also so foggy that one can barely see a few meters ahead. Seon-ah then queries if that means there's no battery power left at all. Jae-sung explains that all the batteries are completely drained, and there's no way to recharge them for now. Seon-ah remarks that it's been a long time since they last checked the situation outside. Jinsong agrees and tells them they should have a quick discussion about it. After their discussion, the protagonist gets ready to head out. He puts on his winter clothes, laces up his shoes, pulls his hood over his head, and prepares his bicycle. Jae-sung and Seon-ah stand near the gate to see him off, both looking worried. Standing beside his bicycle, Jinsong notices their expressions and wonders why they look so tense when he's the one leaving. Seon-ah expresses that they can't help but worry whenever he goes out alone. Jinsong steps closer, places a reassuring hand on her shoulder, and explains that someone has to take the risk. If another group were to break into their hideout while he was gone, they'd be completely defenseless. He lightly taps the modified spear she made for him and assures her not to worry, saying that with this weapon, he can take care of himself. He promises her that he'll be careful. Seon-ah tells him to stay safe, while Jae-sung guarantees that they'll manage things at the base. As the protagonist turns to leave, he pauses and looks back, telling them that he'll bring back both the induction cooker and the gun they need. Seon-ah responds that she packed a rope in his bag to secure the cooker to the bicycle and added a note with substitute items in case he can't find what they need. Jinsong thanks her as he sits on his bicycle, promising that he'll return soon. Seon-ah requests him to take care and reminds him that if things become dangerous, he should abandon the mission and come straight back. She opens the warehouse gate for him and watches as he rides off into the thick fog. As the protagonist rides his bicycle through the snow-covered streets, the metal chains on the wheels crunch against the ground. He reflects that he really chose the right teammates. They even checked and prepared everything for him before he left. Thanks to the chains on the tires and the small light they gave him, the trip will be easier. He looks around and notices that there's nothing in sight. No people, no movement, not even zombies. The streets are completely silent. He reminds himself not to relax yet, because once he reaches the apartment complex, there could be zombies hiding nearby. He figures that if the school is close, then the apartment complex must be just ahead. Suddenly, a cold wind blows hard, knocking his hood off. The wind pushes against him, making it difficult to move forward, but he keeps pedaling with effort. Then he catches a faint smell in the air, the scent of exhaust fumes, like from an old car. He frowns in confusion, wondering why that smell would be here when no vehicles should be running anymore. A moment later, he hears a low rumbling sound in the distance. He looks around, trying to figure out where it's coming from. The sound grows louder, and realization strikes him that it's a motorcycle. His heart starts racing as fear runs through him. If that really is a motorcycle, it could be attracting a massive group of zombies just like before. He looks ahead in panic. The fog is so thick that it's hard to see, but when it clears slightly, his eyes widen in shock. He sees them, a huge swarm of zombies chasing the sound of the motorcycle. He realizes that it's the same rider who led the zombies before. Terror grips him, and he knows he has to escape. He starts pedaling as fast as he can, knowing that if they catch him, he won't survive. But the heavy snow and the chain on the tires slow him down. His breathing grows fast and heavy. When he looks back, he sees the zombies getting closer. He curses under his breath, realizing they're almost on him. Desperately, he scans for a place to hide. There's only one option, the school from before. He turns the bike and pedals toward it with all his strength. When he reaches the school, he jumps off the bike and runs to the door, only to find it locked. Panic fills him as he rushes around, searching for an open window. He finds one and tries to pull it open, shouting in frustration when it won't budge. He pushes harder, using all his strength, praying for it to open. Finally, the window gives way. He quickly throws his backpack and spear inside and starts climbing in, but just as one leg gets through, a zombie suddenly grabs his other leg. Terrified, the protagonist looks back and sees the creature growling and pulling him closer. Terrified, Jinsong kicks the zombie in the chin with his free leg, snapping its neck. He continues to kick and shout for it to let go of his leg, but when it doesn't, he grabs his spear and strikes the zombie's face with the back of it in frustration. Finally, the creature loosens its grip, and the protagonist collapses to the floor, exhausted. Just as the zombie begins to climb inside, he jumps up and slams the window shut. The zombie's hand slaps against the glass instead of his face. Realizing that if he had been a second slower, he would be dead, Jinsong falls back and sinks to the ground, completely exhausted. Meanwhile, at the base, Seon-ah anxiously taps her foot against the floor as she works in the storeroom. Jae-sung walks up behind her and wonders if she's really that worried. She admits that with the darkness outside, it feels even heavier. Jae-sung reassures her that she will be fine. She nods but still looks uneasy. After a short silence, Jae-sung mentions that his phone has charged to about 8% and questions if he should turn it on. Seon-ah checks if that would be okay. Jae-sung explains that if they use power-saving mode, it will last around 10 minutes. Seon-ah admits that she hasn't checked in for days and is curious about the latest information. As Jae-sung logs into the community feed, she feels a sense of relief and thinks that the room suddenly feels a little brighter. In the community, a user discusses how zombies react violently to the scent of blood. They explain that they've been trapped in their home with 4 people, but 2 turned into zombies, so they locked them in a room. Everything had been quiet until that day, when the zombies caught the scent of blood and went crazy. Another commenter replies, mocking the original poster for not knowing that already and advising them to follow the updates. Seon-ah mutters that she already knows that, and Jae-sung agrees, scrolling to the next post. While they read, the protagonist quietly roams through the school's hallways, checking every classroom for zombies or survivors. Back at the base, Seon-ah points to another post, drawing Jae-sung's attention. It reports that the zombies are getting even worse. First came the wall crawlers, and now there are some massive ones. At the school, Jin-sung enters another classroom and looks out the window. He sees zombies gathering around the building and wonders if it's because of that motorcycle again, or maybe a biker gang passing through that has attracted more zombies. On the feed, an anonymous user asks how big the zombies have become. The reply states that they're no longer human, with some now standing over 2 meters tall. Meanwhile, the protagonist spots an enormous zombie towering over the rest, its long hair swaying as it moves. Shocked and terrified, he curses under his breath, wondering what kind of monster it is. At the base, Seon-ah repeats the post aloud, over 2 meters tall, and wonders whether that means their bones are changing. Jae-sung admits that he's not sure, but he is sure that things are definitely getting worse. He suggests checking one more post before the battery dies. They scroll through a few posts, one talking about the same horde, another about selling fridges during the Ice Age apocalypse, and one about looting a nearby mart, before Jae-sung pauses on a post about a massive zombie swarm. The poster states that they live in Banghak-dong, where a huge crowd of zombies appeared out of nowhere. At first, they thought the zombies were chasing a man on a motorcycle, but it turned out he was actually leading them toward crowded places to kill people. The post ends with a warning that the horde is heading toward Uidong next, and urges anyone there to stay on alert. Seon-ah quickly grabs the phone from Jae-sung and tries to read the post again, but the screen suddenly goes black as the battery dies. She curses in frustration, shouting that the post said the zombie horde is moving from Banghak-dong to Uidong, the same place Jin-sung went. She hands the phone back and turns to leave, but Jae-sung catches her hand and questions where she's going. Seon-ah wonders if he saw the post too. She warns that if the protagonist keeps going, he'll run right into the horde. They have to bring him back. She adds that she's seen that massive swarm before when she was out with him, and if Jin-sung runs into them, there won't even be anything left of him. Jae-sung is speechless as Seon-ah pulls her hand away and heads for the door. With a horrified look, Jae-sung mentions that it's too late. Confused, she demands what he means. When he hesitates, she urges him to speak. He finally explains that the post's timestamp was 4:20 a.m., meaning the horde would have already passed Banghak-dong by now and could be heading their way instead. Seon-ah stares at him, terrified, then nods slowly, acknowledging that she understands. Jae-sung places a reassuring hand on her arm and tells her that they need to hold their ground. They can't let the horde overrun their shelter too, and they have to keep a home for the protagonist to return to. He reminds her that this is exactly why Jin-sung left them behind. Realizing he's right, Seon-ah admits that she wasn't thinking straight. She vows to stay and defend their base. Together they leave the room, preparing themselves for whatever comes next. Meanwhile, the hero keeps checking the classrooms when he hears something moving in the next room. He stops right away, thinking it might be a zombie, but then remembers that all the doors are locked except for the window he used to get inside. Maybe it's a survivor, he thinks, and they could help each other. He runs to the other room and slowly opens the door. Inside, he sees the shadow of a small figure. For a moment, his heart sinks, thinking it's a child. He feels sad, realizing that the kid never made it to a shelter. Thinking the boy's home must be nearby, he softly calls out to him. As the faint light from the window falls across the child's thin clothes, Jin-sung's concern grows that no one could survive weeks in weather like this dressed that lightly. Then the light hits the boy's face, revealing pale, lifeless eyes and a twisted expression. It's a zombie. The zombie kid runs at him, and the protagonist, surprised, holds his spear and hits the zombie, knocking it down. A system notification appears, stating that Jin-sung has earned 1 coin, bringing his total to 3. Looking at the little body on the floor, he feels sad and softly apologizes to the dead child. After gaining 3 coins, Jin-sung searched the entire building but couldn't find any more zombies. With this tactical flashlight and the weapon, Jin-sung moves ahead in the dark, having most of the items from the warehouse. Though our boy knows it is pretty bad, but there is nothing to be gained here. Looking out of the building's window, Jin-sung just hopes that the zombies swarming outside disappear tomorrow morning. However, for safety's sake, the protagonist has brought a sleeping bag and emergency rations, so it is a good thing. Wearing the warm jacket, Jin-sung remembers how Seon-ah had insisted he take it. Now, in the freezing weather, he feels grateful for it and can't help but chuckle. Now, being in the sleeping bag, Jin-sung's nose has turned all red and his body is shivering with cold, but all he is concerned about is the warehouse. At this point, he just hopes that it is okay, as the zombie horde was headed towards Uidong. After a while, Jin-sung suddenly wakes up when his stomach growls. Feeling hungry, he enjoys his snack as he looks out the window. At that particular moment, our boy notices the building in front of him and decides to check it out. With his tactical flashlight and weapon, he enters the house, being in shock since there are so many baseball bats in here, which can be really good for defending. Jin-sung wonders if the people here left in a hurry, forgetting these things. At first, the protagonist thinks of taking these with him, but he already has gear, so it will be hard for him to carry these too. Thus, he decides to ignore this idea. Although Jin-sung takes one of the baseballs with him, finding it useful, just then he hears a loud roaring sound. When he turns and looks through the glass window, he sees a zombie trapped in the room behind the one he is standing in. Curiosity takes over him, and he wonders if they got bitten by a zombie, hid there, and got trapped. Whatever the case was, our boy carefully approached the zombie and in a single strike hit it, gaining 1 more coin. Now Jin-sung's current points are 4. Looking around the place, he notices a gas burner, which he had first mistaken for an induction cooktop. Also, he spots a fridge and an oven, which awakens the urge inside him to take these, but it is obviously impossible to carry them or take them apart as well. No matter what, Jin-sung has to go back to the city center. Thus, now he is riding the bicycle, and it is an actual relief that the bicycle is okay. The sun rises slowly, and by that time, Jin-sung has reached his destination. But at this location, there are hundreds of zombies everywhere, so our boy very carefully moves ahead. At times, he hid behind pillars or cars to not get caught by any of these deadly creatures. Right then, Jin-sung's gaze darts at the tallest building of that area, and he plans to go there. As he steps into the building, Jin-sung sees blood splattered across the floor and the place being completely wrecked, which makes him realize that there was a pretty intense battle here. To keep his bag from slipping off, he secures it to his back using small chains. With that, he begins to explore the building. After a while, Jin-sung finally reaches the top floor. His eyes land on apartment 2001 and he reaches for the door. The moment it reacts, Jin-sung realizes that if he presses it to open, the alarms will go off. Thus, very cleverly, he uses his gear and slams it on the door. In an instant, the door opens. The house looks pretty messy, and it is evident that whoever left was in a hurry and panic. Now, in a very relaxed manner, our boy looks around. His face lights up the moment he sees that this place has an induction cooktop. Very happy, Jin-sung removes its plug from the switchboard and places it near him. Spotting a bed, he lies down, thinking to rest before leaving, as it has been so long since he last slept in a soft bed. Being comfortable, our boy practically melts on the bed, but chaos and bad luck seem to have him on speed dial because at that moment, he hears a loud noise. At first, Jin-sung thinks it is a zombie, but when the noise keeps coming, he stands up and glances out of the window. His eyes widened with shock to see zombies crawling on the walls of the front building. He wonders if the noise came because of a zombie falling, but it is kind of confusing. Why are these zombies crawling that building for no reason? Curious and puzzled, Jin-sung looks around and ends up noticing someone staring out the window. Outside, zombies are swarming around that apartment building. Even though Jin-sung feels bad, he can't do shit to help that person. Additionally, now that the zombies are busy crawling that building, it gives our boy a chance to escape. Taking this as an opportunity but feeling guilty at the same time, our protagonist gets out of the apartment with an induction cooktop. However, in that instant, the person in the front building's window starts using a gun, shooting around. Witnessing this, Jin-sung panics because at this rate all zombies within a 300-meter radius will swarm here. Our boy's eyes widen with shock, and sweat trickles down his head because, just as he feared, more zombies are swarming the area. It's clear now, he's completely trapped. Jin-sung is going crazy because this unknown person has been firing for an hour non-stop, and when he observes properly, this girl is picking off zombies one by one with accurate shots. Something more shocking is the way she adjusts herself whenever the rifle malfunctions. This really makes her seem like a professional. At this point, the hero assumes that she is probably a soldier. Looking from the building's glass window, Jin-sung can easily figure out that more than 100 zombies have been killed by far, and if they both formed an alliance, then all those kills would have turned into coins. Though, the idea of teaming up with this girl is actually not that bad because she will be reliable, and he will have a gun for his defense as well since it looks like that she has got plenty of bullets and weapons to spare. However, sitting on the ground, Jin-sung decides to take at least a dull day before these zombies finally scatter, but for now, he just has to wait. In that instant, loud shrieking noises start coming again. Upon looking, Jin-sung finds out that these deadly creatures are swarming once again. At this point, even the gunfires have stopped. The scary part is that Jin-sung only has food left for a single day. This makes the hero regret that he didn't run earlier when the situation was not this serious. For now, all Jin-sung can do is to wait until the horde scatters. Thus, Jin-sung decides to sleep, but it is 1 a.m. and he is tossing and turning in bed, unable to sleep. He recalls that the swarm went toward the logistics warehouse earlier, but he forces himself to calm down, whispering in his mind that everything will be fine. Having nothing to do, Jin-sung opens his system window, being very sure that once he gets into the logistics warehouse, he should be able to scavenge most of what he needs, and maybe there will even be something special. He looks at the unopened mystery box in his system, having this urge to know what comes out of it, but it requires 10 coins, though he needs it open. Otherwise, he won't be able to decide whether it is worth buying more later. Just as he is thinking about all this, a loud explosion echoes in the area. Panicked and scared, Jin-sung runs towards the window, wondering if the blast happened because of those men who blew up the subway to block the tracks. Panic washes over his face when he notices the zombies moving towards the south, which makes him realize that the noise came from the south. Taking this as an opportunity, our boy carries the induction cooktop and finally manages to place it on the bicycle. Very carefully, he tries to get out of the apartment, but it only sounded easy because even right now, so many of the zombies are in front of the building. Peeking out of the ground floor's door, Jin-sung wonders what to do. The idea of killing them comes to mind. Just then, he notices the shooter woman, who is trying to get out of the front building just like him. As the protagonist waits there, he notices the girl moving swiftly, maybe towards him, but her movements are without any wasted motion, which makes our boy puzzled. Is she from some kind of special forces unit? However, finally the girl has come face to face with our boy, aiming her gun at him, which confuses him, and he raises his weapon as well. The girl clarifies that she has no intention of harming, but why the hell is she not putting her gun down? The girl wastes no time and asks whether our boy is alone or has some companions. Putting his weapon aside, Jin-sung informs her that he is alone, and he also has no intention of attacking her. Hearing that, the girl puts her gun down, smiling warmly, being glad that she finally saw another survivor after a very long time. That being said, both of them officially introduce themselves, and it turns out that the shooter girl's name is Park Si-hyun. Now that they both greet each other and shake hands, Si-hyun tells our guy that there are tons of zombies outside and not many in the building, so they should head inside for a while and rest for a bit. Sitting on the staircase, the shooter girl questions our boy if he lives alone. Being aware that she is pretty strong and has dangerous combat skills, our boy is not certain if she can be trusted, so he decided to lie for now. Thus, he admits that he's living alone, and then asks her the same question. After a moment of silence, Si-hyun reveals that she had some comrades who came out of the military with her, but they all died. Elaborating further, she explains that they had their base on the outskirts of Banghak-dong, but then that wave came through just now, and this was the reason she ended up alone. Yet, while running away, she ended up being trapped here. Hearing all this, Jin-sung wonders why this girl is calling the zombie horde a wave. Also, he notices that she blames someone who ruined her plan and made her stuck here like this. Though Si-hyun doesn't go into details and asks our boy if he has any planned destination. Hesitating for a bit, Jin-sung admits that he is going to get a gunshot, as in times like this, guns are mandatory for safety. Si-hyun completely agrees with Jin-sung and asks if he knows how to shoot. When the hero assures her that he does, she opens her bag and shows him her rifle. Finally, our boy has gotten the gun he always wanted after this zombie horde. He is so grateful to her for giving it to him. Though she wanted to give him more ammunition, Jin-sung understands that things might get worse, and what he's received is already more than enough. However, Si-hyun asks her once again what he would do now and where he will be going. Chuckling nervously, the protagonist informs her that he will be looking for a new base for now, as he wants a place where he can stay safely. Jin-sung is being very cautious right now, as he doesn't trust her and doesn't want to reveal their base to her. Although he gets shocked when the shooter girl offers him to come with her since it feels safer to have a companion instead of being alone. Having said that, Jin-sung is baffled, because this won't be benefiting this girl, so why does she want him to be her companion? The hero guesses that maybe she doesn't want to be alone emotionally. Therefore, our boy decides that it is a good opportunity to find out if this girl can be trusted, so he agrees to go with her. Deep down, Jin-sung is very well aware that with Si-hyun's skills and weapons, their base will be 10 times safer. Just like that, Jin-sung stayed behind, walking with his bicycle, while Si-hyun led the way with her gun and shot any zombie who came in their direction to clear their way. Studying her movements, Jin-sung comes to a conclusion that if she ever became his enemy, then it would be terrifying because even when facing the deadly creatures, she is so sharp and composed. Pressing forward, before they know it, they are already in Sangmun-dong. Now they decide to take a short break here. In a nearby cafe, they find cans of sweets, which makes Si-hyun very happy. However, now that they have rested for quite a bit, they decide to move again. As they are heading out, the shooter girl tells our boy that they will try to find some supplies in the afternoon. Jin-sung likes the idea because for now, food is what they need the most. The moment both of them start moving again, a silenced gunshot is fired in their direction. It passes so close to our boy's face that he can feel the air shift. Witnessing this, Si-hyun runs to hide behind a car and starts to shoot as well. Following her, Jin-sung wonders who these people are and if they have any grudge over the shooter girl or something. At this point, Jin-sung demands to know from Si-hyun about who these people are and if she knows them, but she doesn't answer him and continues focusing on shooting. Moreover, Hiro is taken aback when he hears these guys talking to her in English and even cursing them in the same language, which makes him realize that they are foreigners. These soldiers threaten the shooter girl to surrender or else she'll be dead, but Si-hyun is in no mood to give a shit. This continuous shooting makes Jin-sung terrified, and he tries to stop her because if they all don't stop, then the zombies will swarm them. Turning towards Jinsong, she makes it clear that she will never ever surrender because they are the guys who raped her, and this is why she ran away. Upon hearing this, Hiro's eyes widen with shock, and he questions her, wondering if it's really true. The shooter girl snaps back, asking why she'd lie in a situation like this. While he is still puzzled, Si-hyun pushes our boy in front and uses him as a shield to run away. Scared and having no option, Jinsong screams about surrendering. Though in this chaos, the soldiers still manage to shoot this girl on her shoulder. While some soldiers rush towards the shooter girl, one of the soldiers, Brian, comes up to our boy and confirms if he speaks English. When Jinsong assures him that he understands it, Brian asks him if he is Kelly's companion. Hearing the name Kelly, Jinsong is caught off guard because this girl literally told him that she is Si-hyun. That being said, the soldiers exchange glances and smirk after getting to know that this girl even lied about her name. Moreover, the protagonist explains that he is not Kelly's companion. They just happened to meet a few hours ago and traveled together. To get more information, the soldiers ask for more details. Thus, our boy elaborates that she told him she was a former US soldier and was raped by them, so that is why she ran away. Upon receiving that information, Brian and the other soldier are surprised and reveal that she is the woman who betrayed them and was caught siphoning off food supplies. Also, in that process of fleeing, she shot 6 of their members. 2 of them are injured, and 1 died. This is why they are here to catch her. At this point, Jinsong is puzzled, not understanding whom to trust. Although the soldiers have lost her, and the gunshots are also drawing in zombies, so it won't be easy to keep up the chase. There are so many zombies nearby. Yet the soldiers Matthew and Johnson are trying to handle them, but they won't last long, so they need to pull out. Because of this chaos, the soldiers decide to trust Jinsong for now, and in order to leave, they take our boy's stuff. They are puzzled that one bag is so heavy while the other is soft as hell. This makes him worried, since at this rate, they will take his supplies too. However, Jinsong is not ready to let go of his bag, insisting that it belongs to him. But the soldiers' expressions darken when one of them asks if the gun inside his bag was stolen from their group. Terrified, Jinsong doesn't answer that question. Also, he doesn't have the guts to ask for the gun back. Thus, he just hopes that he gives the bag back to him, but deep down he knows that they won't do it. To his surprise, Brian walks towards him and hands him his bag, commenting that he wishes he doesn't use it for something bad. With that, all the soldiers leave, hoping to meet someday, if fate allows and they're still alive. Now taking all his things, our boy is ready to head back home. It has been dark now, and Jinsong has been riding the bicycle for quite some time, but now his legs hurt, and it feels like a bullet grazed him or something. Having no other choice, Jinsong leaves his bicycle on the road and walks on his own because he still has a long way to go. Carrying all his things, our boy continues his journey, recalling that he saw it on the map, and he should now be about 1.5 kilometers away from the warehouse. Still, just in case, our protagonist decides to use a deodorizer. Opening the shop window, our boy finds out that he has 16 coins, which leaves him shocked as hell. It was Kelly who took down all the zombies as they moved. It is very confusing. Were they at a party? But if that was the case, Jinsong would have gotten a notification. Curious, our boy looks at his party members, which include Choi Jae-sung and Han Seon-ah. This makes him realize that the coins are from the warehouse kills. In that instant, Jinsong's eyes widened with surprise. He remembers that the first zombie horde they saw was heading towards Uidong. So if it broke through and if a fight is happening to protect the base from the horde, this means our boy's companions are in danger. The moment realization hits him, Jinsong starts running fast. Panic washes over his face and he just wishes that he is not late. At the base, Seon-ah and the deputy are struggling to keep the zombie horde from breaking in. But there are so many zombies that even when the gate is locked, they are scared. Therefore, grabbing their weapons and being in an attacking stance, they plan to block them at the stairs if they break through since normal zombies can't climb stairs. However, Four Eyes is scared because the zombies can't climb stairs by the cab handle. Having said that, Seon-ah admits that it is true, and at this point it is practically a battle of attrition. As a result of it, if both of them hold the zombies off in tight quarters, then they might last longer. Consequently, Seon-ah tells the deputy to grab his weapon due to the fact that they have to hold out here. Hesitant, Four Eyes reminds her that there is always an option to run as well. Even so, Seo-ah grabs the deputy's arm and reminds him that he said that they'd guard this place until the assistant manager comes back. The deputy clarifies that he is not planning to abandon Jinsong, but first they should survive and then think about what to do next. That being said, our girl is not ready to give up and declares to hold out here no matter what. Thus she instructs him to do the same, warning him to not even think about running. Alternatively, she tells him that it's easier to protect something than to take it back. Her words make the deputy feel guilty, and he decides not to leave. The moment they head forward, they hear a voice outside. Curious, Seon-ah runs towards the balcony and sees a guy on a heavy bike. The guy looks very familiar, but our girl has no time to figure it out as assistant manager Choi screams at her and informs her that the front gate is broken. The zombies are entering the place, and in any second they will be here. But fortunately, the first floor doors are reinforced glass, which is a good thing. By now, they decide to kill the ones who break through. The moment the zombies arrive near them, both Seon Ah and the deputy begin the assault and knock out all the deadly creatures who come their way. At this time, Jinsung is running very fast, hoping that everything is okay, calming himself down, and thinking that the zombies wouldn't have entered because it is true that the zombies were always around but never really broke through. Though the moment he reaches the base, horror slashes across his face when he spots the main gate opened and blood covering the ground. Confused and scared, the protagonist checks the whole area and ends up finding so many dead zombies in the first floor's glass-reinforced room. Not knowing where his teammates are, Jinsung searches everywhere and comes across their belongings, which makes him understand that they both didn't run away. Sweat trickles down his face as he screams their names at the top of his lungs, but his face turns into something horrific when he gets no response. At this moment, our boy has come to the conclusion that they have left. After looking everywhere, there is now no sign of zombies breaking in. However, his heart starts beating really fast when he sees a corpse lying on the ground looking familiar to Assistant Choi. Gathering all the courage inside him, Jinsung tries to look at the body, but before he could do that, his name echoes in the place, and it turns out it is none other than Seon Ah and Choi. In an instant, Seon Ah runs towards him and hugs him with happiness. Finally, he has been reunited with the people he genuinely cared about. Later on, while having tea, Seon Ah explains to our boy that the door was reinforced glass, so it was very strong. That is when she came up with the idea to make a gap. With the help of the chains, they half closed the door and attacked the zombies through the gap, which made it easy for them to defend themselves. Playfully, Seon Ah tells our boy that this was the moment when Manager Choi came up with his famous line about pulling the door instead of pushing it while killing zombies. This makes Choi embarrassed while Jinsung chuckles. Though after enough bodies piled up, the Combines couldn't get close anymore. In the end, they looked at the door again and just held out. Additionally, after some time passed, the zombies disappeared again. Curious, the protagonist wonders aloud where the zombies vanished. Seon Ah explains that the iron door at the entrance was broken, and she and Choi went to Site 2 to find scrap metal to fix it. Hearing all this, Jinsung praises them both proudly for working this hard. Alternatively, with a giant grin, he shows them that he bought whatever was needed, including the induction cooker. Seeing that, Choi gets happy due to the fact that with this they can build a generator. Trying to brag a little, our boy mentions how heavy those were to carry. That being said, Seon Ah compliments him for being this considerate. Now Jinsung announces the last item he's brought, teasing that it deserves a drum roll. They are looking carefully at the bag, waiting for the reveal. The moment Jinsung reveals the gun, both Seon Ah and Choi squeal with happiness, because this is an actual jackpot. Shocked, the manager asks if the protagonist actually went to the gun shop to get it. After Jinsung denies it, they demand to know where he got it from. Just like that, our boy tells them everything that happened while assembling the wood for the preparation of food. While Seon Ah worries that our boy must have been terrified, Jinsung is more concerned about why they're putting so much effort into dinner today. But the moment he gets to know that they are having chicken finally, his eyes light up with shine. Choi explains that they picked up a good amount of food while collecting scrap at Site 2, and tonight they will be having a party. By now, it has been almost 2 hours, and the roasted chicken smells so heavenly that their mouths are literally watering. After waiting so long, all three of them eat the roasted chicken, which literally vanishes all the tension in their minds for the time being. Being full, they all talk about how this time needs to be cherished as well, as they don't have any office or responsibility other than surviving. Though, our boy would go back to the normal life in a heartbeat if he got the option. At this point, Choi is craving beer, as it would have made their night better. Hearing that, Seon Ah suggested going to a supermarket or beer factory instead the next time, since the beer they had last time was great. Right then, Choi mentions the motorcycle guy, informing our boy that Seon Ah saw his face. As soon as the words reach his ears, the hero turns towards Seon Ah and asks her if it is true. When she admits that it is someone they know, Jinsung's jaw drops in surprise. To elaborate further, Seon Ah makes our boy recall that internship when there was talk about connections hiring. There were basically supposed to be 15 of them, but 16 people showed up. At that time, one of the guys was rumored to be a parachute hire and quit halfway through. Though Seon Ah can't remember his name properly, he was probably Park Min-tae, the guy who is the son of their company's CEO. Hearing that, Choi is flabbergasted, as he can't believe that the biker leading around zombie swarms is someone from their company. Yet Jinsung thinks that maybe it is not Park Min-tae because that guy has a twin brother. To be precise, Park Min-tae has an identical twin.